The sun's in Gemini. Venus is in Gemini. Jupiter tomorrow moves into Gemini. The summer of love has begun. All that and more after this. Hello and welcome to Namaste Today Live. I am Sensei Christopher Wotecki, here to be at your spiritual service. We are streaming live on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, X.com, formerly known as Twitter, and we are also live on Instagram as well, our professional Instagram account. If you're streaming, say where you are. Give us your astrology sign and where you're streaming from and say hello to us. Let's say hi to a few people. Experimental Elemental, hello. Erica, so nice to see you. Neptune Girl, hi. We saw Erica at Unite the Light. That was fun. Hello, Nikki. Hello, Michelle. Hello, Danielle. Miss Noelle Way is in the office. The Shots Method, hello, Gina. Carol, so nice to see you. Stacy Harder from Tennessee, love it. And the amazing Robbie Hunt is here. Hello, everyone. We have an exciting road ahead for us this week as we talk about it. As I was saying earlier, we've got a whole party going on in Gemini, which in my opinion is the summer of love. I'll talk about that today. We'll talk about Jupiter in Gemini and what that happens to mean. Also, later tonight on ASTRO MINGLE, we have on the topic of medical intuition, Dr. Jennifer Lisa Vest is here, a medical intuitive, a healer, and the author of the book, The Ethical Psychic. So we're going to talk about psychic spirituality and spiritual ethics with her, as well as the practice of medical intuition and the potential to heal ourselves. I'm looking forward to this conversation. It's so funny. We were at Unite the Light. We talked about ethics in light work as well. So it's going to be a good talk today. But before we dive into all that fun stuff, let's take a look at the week's moods and, of course, your zodiac weather. From Saturday, May 25th to Friday, May 31st, 2024. Looking ahead first at the weekend forecast. Over the weekend, it's a little bit of a bumpy ride as you realize the way you think about yourself may not be in the best light. Let's drill down. On Saturday, it's sunny and novel. Step 4 means Uranus rules the day. We are thinking paradoxically and reimagining what self-love can be. Also, Venus trines Pluto, which sort of demands that self-love realization. And Jupiter enters into Gemini for the next year, so expect to expand your thoughts. But with the moon in Capricorn and the sun at step 4, it's going to be a weird day. We'll put it that way. On Sunday, it's sunny and rather serious. Step 5 means Mercury rules for this Grand Master day. You're going to be thinking proactively on this day, really coming up with a new way to think about yourself. You're also holding space for those little quiet ideas. It's going to be a great day, very strong and centered with the moon in Capricorn. Looking ahead at the 5-day weekday forecast, over the course of the next week, you take this new idea about yourself that you came up with over the weekend and you expand on it through the week. On Monday, it's sunny and professional. Step 6 means that Venus rules the day. You'll be thinking very fairly on this day. Your heart is open, going back and forth on this Venus-ruled day. You're moving ahead with the logistics of what needs to happen. And Mercury sextiles Saturn, so your mind is really in check with your spiritual responsibilities. That's the professional side of the day. The moon will shift from Capricorn into Aquarius, so expect emotionally to feel as if you belong, or maybe you don't belong and you need to move on. On Tuesday, it's cloudy and introverted. Step 7 means Neptune rules the day. So this is a spiritual, intuitive day where you're basically picking up on things that the mind might normally skip over. You're preparing for change, basically. And with the moon in Aquarius, you're feeling out where you belong. On Wednesday, it's sunny and awkward. That's because step 8 is making Saturn rule the day. It's a day of easy self-judgment. You're thinking decisively on this day, and you're doing some courageous innovating of your life. So the universe is pushing you to move forward. This is happening particularly with Mars conjoining Chiron, so you may feel a push to heal something that was once a faux pas or a mistake. The moon's in Pisces, so you're very intuitive and you're feeling your new spiritual story. On Thursday, it's sunny and evolving. You're going to feel ideas rushing forward. Step 9 means Mars rules the day. So these are thinking in order to act. So thinking through actions, thinking through what needs to happen. You are accepting your new potential much stronger now. And Mercury conjoining Uranus is part of that. Your mind is realizing just how far things can evolve. And your mind is moving forward with that new way of thinking inside of yourself. And activating that new thinking is activating the new timeline. And then on Friday, it's sunny and growing. Step 10 means that Earth rules this day. It's a manifestation day. I think to create on this day. And you are reimagining what the future can be. The moon will shift from Pisces into Aries, so you're really going to feel the rubber hit the road. And the sun squares Juno, which means you may come to a new turning point in how you look at long-term relationships going forward. But overall, we wrap up the week feeling very valuable and excited for the summer of love.
It's serious joy, joy, joy.
If you haven't already, please be kind and do subscribe to our YouTube channel, Serious Joy TV. Hit the bell button so you're notified when we go live. And if you don't mind, please like this video right now so the YouTube algorithm will suggest you and our content to people like you. Today, Namaste Today Live is sponsored by the Unite the Light Lightworker Summit. We're just letting you all know that we now have after streaming tickets available. We have the entire 16 hours in the cloud that you can watch this entire event. Plus, if you actually purchase a ticket, they're on sale for $99 right now. You will have access to our premium social network. So we have a private social network of lightworkers. It's no cost to be in the network once you purchase a ticket, but you do have access there and you can reach directly out to any of the speakers, any of the people that went, or any of the people that watched. It was really a phenomenal time, guys. I mean, for everyone on stage, they did a remarkable time. Their speeches were unique, things you haven't heard before. Excuse me. It was compelling information. And if you have 1 ounce in you that wants to walk in the light and you want to make the world a better place, we are your people. We are your family. And this exclusive social network, a private one, a gated one, is for people who have purchased tickets. So you'll be able to watch the entire show in the network, by the way, make profiles, interact, and also watch us on stage. I actually have not watched my keynote back yet. I will soon. I'm not ready yet. But that's at unitethelight.love. And that is our sponsor today. It was a phenomenal event, folks. I mean, breathtaking as far as the energy. I'll talk more about it here in a couple of minutes. But without further ado, I think it's time we move on to our planets and transits. Liking all that Gemini stuff going on. And we're working out here, the coloring here in this picture. Things are just a little weird on our studio side, by the way. But it looks kind of appropriate for my new scene here that I'm in. Welcome, everyone. It's such a pleasure. This is our Planets and Transits episode, or I guess segment is the word for it. And before we dive in, I just want to say, I have to say, completely affirm, talk about affirmation as far as the energy of Taurus and what we've come out of. I was off the air last week because I was doing Unite the Light. This is a first annual Unite the Light event where we're bringing light workers on stage to basically network and promote. It went down so remarkably well. And we did it at the same time of the Sun conjoining Jupiter and Venus conjoining Uranus. The energy was electric. And I kept saying to people, I can't tell if it's the energy of the planets I'm feeling so intensely, the energy of, all these light workers, about 300 in the room, all high vibration people, all bouncing off each other. I don't know if that was it, but the audience and everyone, it was just full on standing applause, ovations. For every speaker, there were standing ovations when they came on and when they left. And that was, we didn't ask them. We didn't have to say, put your hands together. Like everybody was it was really pretty intense. And it was a manifestation moment. And as I had predicted, it went off perfectly. But from an energetic perspective, I think everyone walked away completely high energetically. A lot of people are starting to feel that high sort of dissipate now that they're coming back to reality and they're floating back. I also feel that high is the Sun conjuncting Jupiter. And I think that high is also the energy of what's happening right now. So the answer to my question, I think, is all of the above. I think we were feeling the planets. I think it was intensified by the people in the company that we were around, that bubble. I think it was intensified also from where humanity is. And that's where I'm going to lead into this talk right here. We're on the brink of a major shift right now. And I know that a lot of the narrative for the last 4 years is that we're on the brink of disaster, that we're on the brink of disaster. I hear this over and over again from people who are not in the spiritual arts, that they're just waiting for things to happen. If I see one more ad on Twitter about how some celebrity is going to move to another country if some person ends up winning president, it's like both sides. What it ultimately is revealing is that we are at this point of change. And I think what a lot of people are thinking is going to be negative, or assuming it's going to be negative change, because that's what they expect and that's what it's always been. I myself actually don't expect negative change at all. I expect complete positive, a complete new world. And I honestly believe that our group at Unite the Light, I honestly kind of think we started our own timeline. I mean, I'm really starting to believe that. I think you have the right in the matrix to do it if you want. I think you can create any timeline. And I think we all created an alternate timeline. And I think we're coasting through space-time on this alternate timeline. Or at that point, I split off in my beliefs or whatever. But we're feeling this change. The point is, for people who are dark or who are stuck in the struggle bus, the changes, shifts about to hit the fan at any moment. For those of us who are on the Earth 3 bus, I think things are about to lift off at any moment. I feel like what we felt at Unite the Light were things lifting off. Like we felt maybe a touch of 5D. I was saying that too. Like maybe that was a taste of 5D that we felt. It was like, I feel like it was the way it was allegedly in Atlantis, because from what I've heard about Atlantis, and we'll be talking about Atlantis as the weeks go on, we're going to bring on some people about Atlantis, is that it was like a different vibe on Earth. We were all very spiritually high, like it was our birthday every day. And from what I understand, the pyramids and the Egyptians, they were building the pyramids because the vibration was sinking on Earth, and it was partly for power, Stargate, and also to lift the vibration high again, as it had once been in the ancient Atlantis. And I'm starting to feel like, what I felt at Unite the Light, all these light workers and people in their heart, all crammed into a room, a streaming live audience, also chiming in intuitively, psychically there with us. Psychically, everyone watching was psychically there with us. So you were there if you were watching psychically, and your presence was there, in that sense. But that feeling that we felt, I'm wondering, I wonder if this is what Atlantis felt like, because it's a high, and there's mutual respect, and there wasn't any, disrespect, and everyone was, in alignment. No one went too far. It was really pretty magical. And I feel like it was like Earth 3.0 beta is what I'm getting at here. But where we go to from here, I'm bringing it up because I wanted to talk about it after it happened. This is my first show after it. But ironically, what ended up happening, I think, is very parallel to what is happening for us all globally, and perhaps with just different rollout schedules, right? We will continue to meet Unite the Light every year to reignite that light, reignite that light, reignite that light. So I think every year we're just going to get brighter and brighter. And we're going to have more and more human photons on the floor, and more human photons watching and making up the brightness of all of that. And we're going to try to carry that joy from now until then. And we're going to keep ourselves connected and networking and co-creating with each other in the social network in the background that you get access to if you purchase a ticket. So we're going to move that forward. Now, I think, however, we are on some sort of alternate timeline. I have been saying this for a long time because I knew we were going to dry up all of our karma and our puddles were going to start to dry up, and that we were going to birth this new grand I am. That's what I've kind of seen it. This new version of ourselves that's karma free, or has faced the shadow, or has been reborn. The phoenix has risen, whatever you want to use as far as your spiritual metaphor of rebirth. But I do feel like there is a genuine rebirth happening. And I think that is the shedding of the old. And now as we move into Gemini, this is what I'm getting at. You're probably like, where's he going with this? I do have a plan. I do. The grand I am. In fact, this is the I think I am. I think the month of June for my mega monthlies next week is I think I am. I think I am. And what I mean by that is Jupiter moving into Gemini with the sun now in Gemini. So first of all, Jupiter hasn't been in Gemini since 2012. And I actually have my ephemeris up here. I'm actually going to go and just look and see when it went into in 2012. It looks like it went in 2012 in June. Yeah, early June. So June 2012 was the last time Jupiter was in Gemini. So think back to June 2012. I know that month very well. Shift hit the fan for me in a bad way. I actually ended up being hospitalized when Jupiter went into Gemini last time. And I remember in my head going, God, Gemini is my second house. How is it that but it was an infection that grew out of control. And it was an infection that grew out of control when Jupiter was in my second house of abundance. So literally my garden was being watered by Jupiter to grow. And the first thing that grew was something, an infection. So that's why I say things can grow. But the cool thing is karma never repeats directly like that. So it would be the next Jupiter Gemini, I'd be at risk at that. But the point is that Jupiter Gemini in 2012, how did your mind just bust open at that point? Do you remember your mind just busting open with ideas? And I do remember, because it was 2012, the earth was allegedly ending, in November or December of that year. So, some of us were all just counting down the days to the end of the Mayan clock. I remember Jupiter and Gemini, things sort of speeding up. I also remember being in the hospital at the time. And I remember also lots of friendship changes happened at that time. I had a whole friendship shift out. And I'm already seeing new friends come in this time, like new friends. So I'm, because Gemini I think is friendship, like pinky friendship. So I'm starting to see friendship changes and new friends. And I think that was part of what Unite the Light was too, were all these new friends. So here we are with Jupiter and Gemini again. And I think the big aha moment, I think in 2012, the aha moment was astrology was starting to get mainstream for me. I was realizing like, oh, I don't have to hide anymore. And I remember I created my Sensei Christopher persona around that time. I became Sensei Christopher before I was just stand-up astrologer, Christopher Witecki. So also how I presented myself to the public, Gemini, communicated, how I framed myself, how I branded myself. I remember Jupiter and Gemini was a big change. Namaste Today really became my brand at that time. So it's interesting now that I'm one cycle old, it's interesting. But what I believe is going to be what's going to happen now is we're going to move into what I call the summer of love. And this is my pitch. And I think the summer of love is technically starting right now, because the sun and Venus have moved into Gemini, and Jupiter is going to move into Gemini tomorrow. And this sun, Venus, Jupiter conjunction, Venus and Jupiter and Gemini, is happening all in the early degrees. This is all happening. And then the sun will actually never conjunct Jupiter and Gemini, which is very interesting. And I have to go over and make sure it's correct one more time, but I don't think it does. Jupiter goes into Cancer before the sun can catch up to it. So it's kind of weird. The sun and Jupiter never connect like they did at Unite the Light in Taurus. Very interesting. I had noticed that type of thing before. I used to be too scattered in my own life. But I believe that synergy of Venus and the sun will basically be in conjunction in Gemini for about 15 days, the first 2 weeks of June. That's the summer of love, the sun and Venus making love together on the inside. What I believe is going to happen is I believe that now that we turn this corner of the golden age and the golden egg, and what we just birthed was a major golden egg with diamonds at the event too, gold and diamonds. Shout out to my diamonds. We're at the event. And so I think we all manifested this gold. And basically in the narrative, we're basically going to look at ourselves and be like, I think I am. I think I am something. I am becoming something. I think I am now this. I think I am now that. I think I am. I think we're going to say I am this new version of myself. This is also Mars blazing through Aries, and Mars crosses Chiron this week. So That's the healing of what's possible that happens. And I'll talk about that and show the chart for you. The healing of what is possible basically unfolds. And I believe this is where the summer of love begins, because I believe we fall in love with an idea about ourselves. That's what we fall in love with. Oh my God, what if this is true? All right. So we struck gold in the world. Okay, thank you. Robbie just confirmed no conjunction of Sun and Jupiter and Gemini. Thanks, Robbie. I had a feeling psychically you picked up on that. I really did. She's like my live Joe Rogan astrologer who's looking stuff up for me. Thank you, Robbie, who was at Unite the Light and fabulous, by the way. And boy, does she show her spark and her spunk, and came all out as an Aquarius. I think a lot of Aquariuses do kind of hide back a little bit. But my point is that I believe we fall in love with this idea about ourselves. And I think this idea about ourselves is something we've always thought about, something we've always dreamed about. And this information, by the way, is coming psychically, intuitively from when I look at the planets and I read what's happening psychically. I think we're falling in love with like, oh my God, and it's like, I am no longer this, I am no longer that, I am this, I am that. So it's this declaration of this grand I am, and we now think that we are. And then Jupiter in Gemini, I think, then carries. So the sun will go into Cancer, and the sun will go into, and as the sun keeps going through other signs, Jupiter carries that magical being all the way up through the clouds as Jupiter moves all the way up. And another stat that Robbie gave me today was that Jupiter actually stations retrograde at 21 degrees, which is a Grandmaster Jupiter degree. So it goes to Grandmaster Jupiter, which means we basically rewrite our belief structure, or we reprogram our mind to a new belief structure. Or you could say we download the new timeline. We basically rewrite or write the next script of what is going to happen next in our life. That's Jupiter and Gemini. And when I say next, I mean the next decade. I mean through until retirement, and until you have grandkids. Like, it's the next whatever you call a chunk of time, right? So I believe we fall in love with this idea. And I believe this falling in love really starts to happen this week. Now, I'll go one step further and say, I also think we're going to start hooking up in a spiritual way. There are so many light workers who, I can't tell you, chart after chart, client after client after client after client. Where's my love? Where's my love? Where's my love? I look at the chart. It's the same answer. You've got to heal first and the love will come. You got to heal first and the same answer. Damn it. Damn it. I've been healing my whole life. I know, but this is the first lifetime in 2,000 years that we've even tried to heal. So it's a big deal, so it's time to do it. Right. And give it a try. Because we've been all damaging our soul up until now. This is the first turnaround. So we had a lot of healing. But I always saw a relationship on the other side of these light workers and these people who are my clients and my tribe and my peeps. And so what I'm saying, folks, if you're one of them, and even if you're not, we're here. We are here. We are at the point now where I believe with Jupiter and Gemini, everyone's going to be finding their twin. They're going to find their buddy. They're going to find their inseparable lightworker twin. I also don't feel in my heart that we're meant to actually face the next thing on Earth. Like the next thing we do on Earth, you want to have your honey by your side. You do. You want to have your honey by your side because it's sort of World War II gravity in the sense of how important the moment is. And so you want to have the power of couplehood working together, because the power of couplehood is incredible. And by the way, I haven't even talked about the power of couplehood because I've had my whole career so far helping people connect to their inner self and become a good their inner marriage and their inner friendship and getting their inner shift in order. So it's been my entire career of 18 years getting our inner shift in order. What's interesting though is that I'm an 18-degree Taurus, so it took 18 years for me to. So once I got to step 18, I was done cooking. That's a whole nother interesting story that I'll bring up in my book. But it does mean it's a summer love. And I do mean that means that people are going to start hooking up. That means you're going to find him or her. That means it is definitely time to get in the gym. That is definitely time. And the irony is, and this is what my guides are super funny. They make jokes with me. And the joke that they made when I looked at the future was this couple coming together and just falling in love and kissing, and like the city falling behind them. And the image to me, the way they talk to me, first of all, they're making a joke. They're like, yeah, you're, just as soon as you fall in love, the world's going to fall apart. So that was what my guys are saying. As soon as you fall in love, as soon as everything is great, the world's going to fall apart. Like, fuck, which is like a joke between them and I, because it's always that way. Damn it. Like that's part of my karma. And it's also kind of when I enter on stage usually, is like, right when things are about to, and you may say, you've been on stage for 18 years. No, actually not. You all are, you all have found me, ahead of time. I've always known, that as far as my timing is concerned, I'm George Washington's Pluto in Libra. I have George Washington's Pluto in Libra. I saw that about, I don't know, maybe 5 years ago. I'm like, oh, shift. I'm the oldest guy at the damn convention. I'm going to be the oldest guy. I'm going to be George Washington when when the whole goes down. Shift. Oh my God. People are going to probably remember he is old always. Like that's going to be part of my sensei image. You knowing me young won't be the way the world knows. And I talked about that at Unite the Light, that I think a lot of us are forefathers and foremothers of the new era. And I think the forefathers and foremothers, so if you want to think about like an alignment with the last time Pluto was in Capricorn, okay, and Pluto's dipping back in September, the forefathers and mothers started to meet in Congress, to form the idea of forming a new nation. They started to meet as delegates and talked about forming this new union, right? I believe that what was happening at Unite the Light was just that. I truly believe that we have leaders of light who are coming in to be foremothers and forefathers of the new era, who are here to be the guiding light and the original brands, just like you have these brands in the United States right now, which is like Kellogg's cereal and Campbell's soup and these brands. We're basically creating the brands that will be like the Campbell's soup of spirituality, the Campbell's soup, they're going to be the brands that people remember for 50 to 100 years leading into the new era, leading into the age of Aquarius. I believe we are the foremothers and forefathers of the new era, of the new age of Aquarius. I believe we are the pilgrims and we are arriving at the spiritual rock. And I believe that we have arrived to that rock really this summer of love. This is the beginning where I believe that the founding fathers, forefathers and mothers are going to now come together. That's why we did Unite the Light at that moment. And we had to do it before Jupiter went into Gemini, because we want to make a lot of really big introductions in the beginning. Because with Jupiter and Gemini, you're just going to build this new web of connections, friendships, associations. I think a lot of old friendships and associations are, sort of disconnecting those cords, and new connections are cording up and creating a new grid of light and a new connection or human network of people and spirits, each light being a point of presence, in that constellation of souls that ultimately make up the forefathers and foremothers of the new era, of which I think you are one of them, if you're even interested in my show, by the way. So this summer of love to me is a very powerful, exciting moment. And I do think that things get really bumpy. You're going to have to fasten your seatbelts for turbulence starting September, when we, dive in with Pluto going back into Capricorn. And there's one final cheat. One final grab for power, one final big cheat, attempt to cheat at something. And I think it's the final cheat. I think whoever is cheating will get caught at cheating. That's what I feel and believe. And that's all I'm seeing so far is just the word cheat. And I'm not sure how, my guides, it's never how I think. So don't assume. So where that brings us, that's the big vision of Jupiter and Gemini. I feel that Jupiter is going to carry out and re-neural network your brain. I think it's going to re-neural network our human networks. I think it's going to grow humanity into kind of more of a scary cyber network. I think right now AI has sort of been off to the side. Okay. And Robbie Hunt also brings up that AI came out when Mars was in Gemini and Mars retrograded in Gemini, and the AI came big on the scene. And I agree, Robbie, with that. That was fascinating and true. I think, but AI hasn't started talking to AI yet. Like that's the next layer. where AI is talking to AI basically. And that's when things start to maybe take off without us asking, right? Like it's alive is the word I'm thinking. So I think Jupiter and Gemini is going to like probably explode AI in some senses, in that it just starts really getting smart, and it has to do with its learning curves and how long it takes for things to learn, to where we're really, pretty stunned about it. And that's part of everything Jupiter and Gemini is going to do. Jupiter and Cancer, unfortunately, I'm just giving you like a little bit of a 3-year look out here. Jupiter and Cancer is probably a bummer because it's emotional, and we're going to have to face a lot of emotions about something. So, I think things will go down in Jupiter and Gemini that won't catch up to us until Jupiter and Cancer, that won't emotionally catch up. We won't realize what we had seen or witnessed. And I think we're definitely up for some crazy shocks when Uranus goes into Gemini, which is happening. And we have, of course, Neptune and Saturn going into Aries. One thing I talked about at Unite the Light is that I think we have until about February of 2027 is when I calculated, when Saturn goes when Saturn and Saturn is in Aries, I think at step 9, and Uranus is in Aries, or maybe, it's Uranus and Saturn. Ultimate Uranus is in Gemini. Neptune and Saturn are in Aries. Excuse me. That was the planet I was reaching for, but couldn't get the word. I feel like once Neptune and Saturn are in Aries and Jupiter's in Cancer, we're up for some heavy turbulence. And that's what I'm saying. And I'm not sure what it is. I can't see into it, but I can feel it coming, like I did with COVID. I do think you'll have your honey. I think we'll have our network. I think we'll have our friends in place. I think we'll have our everything, ready to handle that. I think that's the moment we were born for, was to make sure that moment is handled with extreme care. And that is the transition of world power, I think, that starts to happen, which, this election here in America lights the fuse, just so happens to light the fuse, because the astrology is what carries it out. It's a global change, but this election lights the fuse of that tremendous change. So bringing us to this week where we are, that's the big picture, but I think Jupiter and Gemini deserved it. This is the week where we go basically into this new conclusion of who we are. And this, I think I am, very Sam I am, very sort of Cat in the Hat, Dr. Seuss feeling. This I think I am energy really happens this weekend. So this weekend, you have this I think I am realization. And I don't believe people have come to this realization before in their lifetime. They might have thought it or speculated on it, but I think it only can happen on the heels of all this spiritual healing and change that we've done. I don't feel like it could have come, this idea. Some ideas are completely dependent on the client going through all the learning exercises. And so the theme of this week, I think I am, happens this weekend when you realize, standing on top of everything you've been through since COVID, how you've changed and how you can't think about yourself the same way anymore. That's what this week is. And after this weekend, we go to step 6, step 7, step 8, step 9, step 10. I'll show you the chart in a second. But what we basically do is we reframe a new theory about what we think about ourselves. And this is one of those things that we think this is true. But of course, we're going to want to carry that I think step 5 all the way to step 11, I become. So there's a lot of steps to make it real. I want to put in that disclaimer. But of course, once the mind gets a hold of something and can't stop thinking about it, which is, I think, what Jupiter is going to do, is just going to light it on fire. Light it on fire as far as just like in your head, it's just going to be like, wow, like candy to think about, and talking about it as candy. And I think, the whole world becomes like a busy beehive of thought and activity and conversation, through the summer of love, just this beehive of people's ideas bouncing off of people's ideas, because they have this new idea of themselves that they came up with this week. The subplot of the week is anything is possible. Anything is possible. I mean that. Anything is possible. If you have a really far out there idea, it may take more than one lifetime for it to happen. So depending on how far out the idea is, if you're like a Tesla and you're thinking for, colonies on Venus, well, okay. Yes, it's possible. It might take more than this lifetime. You can get really close there. But if it's something within this lifetime, it's quite possible. The Earth in Sagittarius is manifesting Earth new belief, Sagittarius, about ourselves. So as the sun is in Gemini, the earth is in Sagittarius, we're manifesting this new belief about ourselves. And this new belief about ourselves is the code, it is the script, it is the writing on the wall, right? It is the anthem. And it writes the story, it tells the story, it sings the song, right? So to speak. So we're sort of writing that song. The key question of the week is, does my heart believe? Does my heart believe? And when I say that, I really think of it in very dramatic Broadway terms where the lead singer goes to the end of the stage and the spotlight comes down and they go into this song. Does my heart believe? Like there is this moment where you're going to have to decide whether or not you believe it in your heart. And I'll give you the secret. If your heart wants to believe it, it does. Okay. People's like, I want to believe it. Then you do believe it. If you want to believe it, you do believe it. There's just another part of you that's poo-pooing on the doing. Okay. So if you say, I want to believe that, well, then you do believe it, but you've got so much other crud in the system holding back that belief is the issue. The heart, recognize that a belief in the heart is an intention to manifest. That's what a belief is. It's an intention to manifest. I believe I'm going to be a world famous sensei. That's an intention. And I believe it, right? I believe it. Many people will get to know who I am. I believe that. I saved up this lifetime for this life, for this is the lifetime where I go out into the public again in a big way. I haven't for 1,500 years since the last time I went on the public on this sort of level. So I got a little gung shy after things went down south, right? So that belief is really what you want to be monitoring in the background, because the thoughts are going to be all over the map. Okay. But the belief is the arrow, is the Sagittarius arrow. The belief is the constant, common thing that every thought has. Remember, I believe is step 3. I belong is step 4. I think is step 5. So every thought is the child of a belief already. It's the child of a belief. So if you are strong about the beliefs, you guarantee that all the thoughts will fall in line down the road. So we have to prioritize, even though we're in Gemini, technically the power of Gemini Sag is Sag, because Sag is step 3. It comes before Gemini step 5. Therefore, Sag is the parent of Gemini. Therefore, your belief is the parent of all of your thoughts, which are the children of your beliefs. So the way we manage our thinking is we set up this belief and then we keep our thoughts within that context. That's my play-by-play football coach to the side of the road here, spiritually telling you what I feel we should do. All right, let's look at the planets, starting with the sun and Gemini. Yay. I love how these look over this new background. The sun goes from step 4 to step 10, step 4 being tomorrow. I think, are we in step 4 yet? We might be. And what that is that is the big breakthrough. That's the big aha moment. That's, Venus is trining Pluto at that moment, and Jupiter enters into Gemini at step 4. So we have this real nuclear moment tomorrow on Saturn Day. I'll actually be in an event in Malibu for Human Garage. So if you actually happen to be in Malibu, y'all, or in North LA area, I'll just say right now, I will be in Malibu for the Human Garage event. Go to humangarage.net for tickets if you'd like to go there. I'll be speaking in the Master of Ceremonies. So I'll be feeling some shift, right? Whoa, the world's shifting under my feet. So we sort of, and what's interesting is I'm like, oh, interesting. I'm going to have my mind shift at the Human Garage event. So I'm super excited because I know the astrology. I'm going to have some sort of a shift there. My heart just said, hopefully a good one, but of course it is. So we go from this big shift Saturday, Sunday to Grandmaster step 5 on Sunday. So on Sunday, that's when you have this light bulb idea that I think I am. I think I am something is basically the prediction I think is going to happen. And then we carry out that thought for the rest of the week. Monday, it's like, is my heart really, am I full of shift? Is this really possible? So Monday is like back and forth, step 6. Tuesdays, we pray it like, God, please let me know right now with a sign whether or not this is true. Please tell me. Step 7, that's my son's birthday, by the way. Happy birthday, my son. Step 8, we go, nope, that's it. This is it. This is it. The I think I am is it. I am committing to this idea. Yes, I am. That's what Thursday is. Friday is like, all right, well, if you're committing, do something about it. tell the world, put it in writing. You got to do something about it. So next week, when I'm doing this show, it's time to act on this I am. And maybe we'll see how close to the chest it is. Sometimes I have to hold off before I can tell people. Maybe I'll share it with you next week what my I think I am is. Maybe I won't. So I don't always share stuff usually until step 10 or 11. And we're going to only be at step 5. I think I am. All right. So that's basically the week. And we carry it out. We manifest on Friday. And then next Sunday, June 1st, is step 11. And that is that I become the I think I am. So at that point, you are brainwashed. You have taken the red or blue pill. You have chosen which beverage. You've chosen the ride. You've chosen it. And what is it based on? This is what's so fascinating to me. It's based on what you think you are. Isn't it funny how many times we go to people like, who do they think they are? When you say, who do they think they are? We say that all the time. Well, we're all about to change who we think we are. That's pretty amazing to me. We're about to change who we think we are, which means everything changes, every dialogue changes, every friendship changes, everything changes, everything under the roof changes, right? So as I said, there's a party going on here in Gemini. Venus goes from 1 to 10 Gemini. The Sun and Venus are just like, they're just kissing and making love. This is where we get this warm glow, summer of love, fire starting up here. Now here's Jupiter on its way to the party, bringing unlimited liquor, which is what Jupiter in Gemini does, because Jupiter in Gemini is when Jupiter can get a little out of control. Why? Because Jupiter is in its outer, it's in its opposite self. It's at its weakest point in Gemini. Okay. So Jupiter gets a little sloppy, forgets to check IDs at the door. Okay. People get in that shouldn't into the party. All sorts of bad stuff goes down. So there's a whole taking it too far. Just turn Jupiter into a disco ball. Okay. That's what it's about to do. It's about to turn into a disco ball, and it's about to beam all these crazy pinpoints of light all over the solar system and just turn the Milky Way into a disco for a year, pretty much, which is why I think it's like the summer of love. It's the same energy. I keep feeling it, right? It's the same thing. So it's going to be quite a party. Just make sure, you have your little bag in your purse in case, you drink too much or something. But this is the party. Okay. And this party starts up. Jupiter moves into Gemini tomorrow. And I'll be showing you the chart of what that looks like and what the mark of what that Jupiter means. Let's move on to our next slide, shall we? Actually, I have to move on to, which is, thank you, Taurus. And actually, I just realized I don't have my notes on me. That was completely off the top of my head. 1 second. Oh, right. Sorry, folks. Live television here. Okay. So, right. Venus goes 1 to 10. Jupiter goes to 0. And Jupiter at 0, by the way, also is a strange portal. I'll just say that. So Jupiter starts today. Jupiter is in Taurus. That's where we put Jupiter in the Taurus. So right now, Jupiter is at 29. And it is just like, I'll say at 29 too, it took things. So for Unite the Light, I was like, yes, I'm going to get to Unite the Light. And this is going to be where I end up landing, is here. And when I got here, myself was like, no, actually it's actually way up here. I'm like, whoa, I ended up much higher than I thought I was going to end up climbing. I think that's Uranus, like doubled it here. Uranus just was like pushed it to higher than I could have thought of or would have asked for, which is great, because when it's more than you asked for, that's the best you can also possibly get, because you're not being greedy. You're not being greedy. It's more than you asked for. So like it eliminates that sort of thing. And that's where we're at here. This week, Jupiter goes from 29 to 1. So it goes to 0 tomorrow evening at 7 or so Eastern time. And then at that point, but we're sort of pushing the envelope of what's possible. So don't be surprised if your wishes go up to a higher notch at this last 29-degree moment. Mercury goes from 12 to 25, step 12 to 25. So although we're moving on to Gemini and we're starting to fall in love with ourselves and this new idea, we're still, Mercury, the ruling planet of Gemini, is still in Taurus. And so our mind is really caught up with a lot of literal, practical contracts, lines, negotiations, prices, so our mind is caught up with a lot of details that are necessary to get the job done. So it's not like we're off on like this cloud. That's June that we're in the cloud, right? We're really in the clouds in June, like like Smurf. Okay. Uranus this week goes from 23 to 24. The interesting thing about that is we start to open up to receive now. Uranus has said, you deserve this. Okay, fine. I deserve it. Great. Yeah, thanks. Uranus at 24 is like, and okay, here it is. Just let us put it down. Should we put it in your room? Should we put it over here? Like, oh, wow. Like instant delivery. So I think we start having cash roll in, deliveries roll in, gold. I mean, we discovered gold with the Sun conjunct Jupiter at Unite the Light. We now start mining the gold with Uranus at 24 degrees this week. So we start mining that gold. And Uranus is going to be mining gold all year, by the way. So I think it's going to be a very profitable year. And my other show, LOL, Leading Out Loud on Mondays, our posse, we all agree on our team of light that we don't feel a financial crash this year. So do what feel free to roam about your purchases and about the cabin. Now, back in the Aries spectrum, we have Mars, a North Node, and Chiron in Aries right now. Mars in Aries this week goes from step 18, Grandmaster 18 Aries, where it is right now. It's right on my Chiron. That's so funny. To 23. So we have a grand I am agenda, basically, this grand I am that we are becoming, and we are moving forward with this grand I am. I think that's part of the reason why when I analyze the planets, I really felt like this is the I think I am, because the Gemini is the I think, but Mars in the high degrees of Aries is the I am. And Mars is the ruler of I am. So just when we start thinking differently about ourselves, Mars is in Aries going, you bet, mofo, you bet. Like we're pounding our chests, like back to our gorilla days, really with Mars in the high degrees of Aries. So everyone is sort of like feeling that hoot kind of moment with Mars in those degrees this week. The North Node at 14 is saying, be original. Be original right now. Be original. And how do you be original? By being on the right side of your heart, if it's what your heart likes. Oh my God, I can't go down a huge rabbit hole story, but I went and bought these shoes for Unite the Light, these white shoes that look like they have all these colorful rainbow confetti on the sides of them and rainbow confetti shoelaces. And my heart wanted them right away. And then my adult me was like, wait a second, this is Unite the Light. I don't know if you should do this. Like, what does this say? And then my heart's like, but I want it. So I was like, okay, I'm buying it. It's my birthday, like birthday month, I'm buying it. So I wear the shoes in the airport because I think they're really cool and they're super comfy and great for travel, right? Shiny white shoes with all these good colors. I got stopped in the airport by like three black guys, particularly African-American gentlemen who stopped me and were like, I like those shoes. I was like, wow, thanks. I've never had anyone compliment my shoes before, ever. And the point is the North Node here at 14 degrees. It's like, be original, be on the side of your heart. Let your heart have what it wants and notice what it brings as a result. Some people say they actually saw the shoes. That's so funny. I loved them. Yeah. I'm still wearing them like right now. No, I'm just kidding. But they're super comfy. And the point is the North Node at 14. Be original, follow your heart, be on the side of your heart. Now, Chiron goes to 22 degrees this week. I think tomorrow, if I'm not mistaken. I got to look at my notes. If I put it in there, I think I did. On Sunday. It goes to 22 on Sunday. And Mars will actually cross Chiron. So Mars will come through the spectrum into Chiron and conjoin Chiron at 22 degrees on Wednesday. Now, the thing about that is you're going to be forced to face any fear or trauma you have around causing chaos, all right, around causing chaos as a result of your character. So as your character being disruptive. So if you have any fear around being a disruptor, and most of us indigo generation are here to disrupt, I'm disrupting the astrology market. I'm disrupting light working. I'm creating a huge wake, and people are either going to like get on one side or another. But what ends up happening is you end up all having to find a new place as a result. So disruptors make big wakes that everyone is forced to swim faster, right? Basically, and do even greater for themselves by being challenged by the wake. So Mars conjoining Chiron is facing your fear of making that great wake, that you're going to make waves, and those waves are going to make some people uncomfortable and make some people have to get up and move, and some people have to do things they don't want to do. And gosh golly, you've ruined me sitting in this chair doing nothing forever. Damn it. I was planning on doing nothing the rest of my life, but you had to go up there and make this wake right in front of me. So it wakes people up, right? By making wakes. So you're going to face your fear around making too big of a wave, I think. Now, looking at the emotions of the week, the moon moves through Sagittarius, Capricorn, Aquarius, and Pisces. So we got a lot of emotional shift going on right now. The moon and Saturn, the thing that happens, we just came off of a full moon. That full moon was that, believe differently about ourselves. So that full moon sort of spiritually lubricated us to let go of our old beliefs about ourselves. So we're sort of over ourselves with that full moon. And I did feel it. I was like just sort of over myself. I just didn't want to do anything. Didn't want to lift a finger. I think I was still traveling. Didn't want to carry my suitcase. Didn't want to carry my coffee. Like I was just a total toddler in the full moon. And I was like, come on, sometimes my emotional state is that way. This weekend, we have a holy shift. Now that we've been sort of lubricated by the full moon, this weekend with step 4, step 5, the moon in Sagittarius, this is the weekend where you do the big grand I think I am. And part of that is the moon in Sag, which is bringing passion to our beliefs and bringing passion to our story. So we're getting excited about our story and excited about our beliefs about what's possible. Remember, does my heart believe it's possible? Then the moon goes into Capricorn, and we on Sunday and Monday, mostly, and very quick it seems like, but it has to do with the days of the week and when you sleep. But then we make some emotional decisions that we either basically you emotionally decide, are you crazy or not? So you emotionally are what checks you to go, am I crazy or not? Okay. And that happens really with the moon in Capricorn. Am I crazy or not? And the sun will be at 6 degrees and 7 degrees during that time. So our heart's also praying, weighing back and forth, praying to God with step 7, the moon's in Capricorn. We're deciding, am I crazy or am I not? Then the moon moves into Aquarius and we're like, okay, it is. I'm crazy. Let's jump. And so you decide and you go for it with step 8 in the moon in Aquarius. And at that point, it turns into a music video and sort of an Alice in Wonderland thing where you start to go down a rabbit hole of the moon in Aquarius for the rest of Monday. I think it's Monday night, then Tuesday and most of Wednesday. So a lot of Aquarius energy, unlimited possibilities are super exciting and happening. And then the moon moves into Pisces, which is Thursday and Friday. And at that point, you're emotionally wow, I'm totally in a different timeline now. I can feel it. So by next weekend, we can feel we are definitely not on Earth anymore. We're definitely not the same person we used to be. And we're definitely not heading for the same fate we were once heading for. So it's pretty incredible. Speaking of Pisces, Saturn in Pisces and Neptune in Pisces. Saturn at 18 degrees all week. I love the magic around these planets. Saturn at 18, we are just committed to the new spiritual story. Neptune at 29 is just basically what Neptune at 29 is doing is actually creating miracles. It sort of is like a joker card. It sort of gives you the ability to pull shift off that you would never get away with. You get away with shift you never get away with Neptune at 29. And that's just so God basically can cheat and get people in that she decided to get in or something. So it's kind of funny how shift happens with Neptune at 29, but a lot of shift is happening. And I will say this too, including my mom, prayers to my mom. She fell down the stairs and she was badly injured and hurt right before I went out of town. Perfect timing. Perfect. Great. I have to go out of town and now she falls down the stairs. Total Neptune, 29 degrees Pisces. But I really felt like I'm hearing lots of stories like that of people having accidents, injuries, surprise visits from an ex, all sorts of weird karmic stuff happening. And I think that's Neptune at 29. It's forcing karma to happen. So basically, if you in heaven said, nope, I'm going to get married to this person. And then around 40, I'm going to get married to that person. Okay. And you're staying with the first person when you had arrangements to be with the second person. Neptune at 29 is like, all right, reveal that she's cheating. And it's just like, okay, he finds the text and turns out his first wife is cheating or vice versa, male, female, it doesn't really matter. And it's like, so how is it that he knew to check the phone at that last minute? Neptune at 29, it was like, we got to move on with the karma. This person's not waking up. We don't have this person booked. You're booked with another person for the rest of your life. So we're just going to force this one. And I think, the Matrix will do that. It'll sort of It'll sort of force fate back into motion if you step a little too much out of your lane. We know this is true from near-death experiences. People go to heaven. They're like, it's not your time. You're going back. It's like, but I died. My body was destroyed. We've got a new one for you. You know what I mean? Like, it's going to turn out to be a miracle healing. You're going back because this is not what you scheduled. So you're going back. So whenever we get off that schedule, we do get nudged back. And Neptune at 29, in my opinion, is doing some major nudging. And I think for my mom, it was a major nudge. She's at 18, just like me. And we're very, very stubborn. And I had to fall for 11 months for me to wake up. You know what I mean? So my mom fell for 11 seconds. I fell for 11 months as far as the gravity of the situation. But yeah, nonetheless, it happens. All right. So with that, let's take a look at some. Oh, wait, do we say everything? Pluto's in Aquarius at 1 degree. We can say that. So we have to protect that self-love vibration. And Black Moon Lilith is at 26 degrees Virgo. So we are facing commitment issues, any sort of fear of commitment issues, fear of being stuck, not being able to get out. I had a couple of moments where I started getting afraid because I'm getting really bold and I'm making some really bold decisions for my life right now. And I'm loving it. Bold colors, everything. And for a moment I got a little scared, like, oh God, maybe I should go back into my scared shell. And then like, oh, this is Black Moon Lilith. It's helping me, coming up, helping me face the, any fear or trauma that would make me think anything other than things working out perfectly. And I got to say, with Unite the Light, things worked out perfectly. I mean, perfectly. And shout out to Gina Schatz, actually. Gina Schatz, who was the Net 9 cancer mechanic behind the whole event. One of the many cancer mechanics, actually, but the core wheel there. Gina, we were real proud of what you did for us. All right, let me take a look now and let's show some planets. I'm looking to find my slide and I'm still learning how to get around this new software. Here we go. Screen share. That's correct. Window. Here we go. And share. So first and foremost, we will say, and at times, Sarah, we'll want to go bigger on the slide at times, but keep my gorgeous face in the frame. That'd be great too. So coming up on Astro Mingle, we're going to have medical intuitive Dr. Jennifer Lisa Vest. It's a great name, who feels so spiritual and cool. I think she is the real deal. And I'm looking forward to talking to her. She's a medical intuitive, which is a hot topic right now, because I think a lot of us are realizing that we can heal ourselves as part of what Human Garage teaches. And I'm really excited to talk to Dr. Jennifer or Dr. Vest. And can you guess what her sun sign is? Audience, can you guess what her sun sign is? Can you guess? I'll let you know in the intro. So first and foremost, let's see, do I have these in the correct order? Let's see, Jupiter, hold on, Jupiter at 7:15 p.m. and this is at 7:14 p.m. All right, these are the same slides. Exactly. All right, so this is Jupiter entering into Gemini, and we can't go into this in full depth right now. Dr. Miss Robbie actually left me a message, and we, started bringing this out there, and we talk about how Jupiter will go to 21 degrees and then back to 11 as far as how it's going to retrograde and then direct again. So 11 is personal integrity of self. So what that tells me is we fall in love with all this Jupiter energy here. This is the moment. And the planets at this moment, and I agree with Robbie, the planets at the moment that the planet first goes into the energy, that's a birth chart for the transit of that planet. So this is a birth chart for the transit of Jupiter in Gemini. And because Jupiter's conjoining Venus and the sun, it tells me that the overall Jupiter in Gemini transit is going to be about thinking differently about ourselves. What feelings we open up and don't open up to, like what feelings we open up to inside ourselves or don't, is very important to what directs the conversation. Remember, step 2 is I feel. Step 5 is I think. Notice that on the opening moment of Jupiter in Gemini, that the sun is at the Grandmaster step 5 degree of Gemini. So it literally is basically giving us to have unlimited connections to what we think. Unlimited. That 0 to the 0, 0 to the 0, 0, 0 is the hall of mirrors that we call reality, the reflections of spirit and consciousness. And really, if you think about it, it's all ideas and beliefs, Jupiter and Gemini. Ideas and beliefs are the two things that really create the fabric of our reality. So we're going to rewrite, if I just keep myself, rewrite the fabric of our reality with Jupiter and Gemini this next year, simply by thinking about it differently, right? And you can think about this in your own life. Go back to when you were first dating in life, the first time. How were you thinking back then? How are you thinking now about life? How's your thinking changed since then? Right? Tremendously. And as a result, your whole life has changed. So this is the beginning here. Mercury's at Grandmaster step 14, net 5. You can't make this shift up. Uranus is at 23, net 5. So we're hitting a harmonic of fives. The sun at 5, Uranus at 23, net 5, Mercury at 14, net 5. Okay. The North Node at 14, net 5. All when we're going to sit. This is the party. This is how the planets all show up for one another and play each other's tunes to harmonize the consciousness that makes up what we call reality. It's the stirring of the pot of reality and consciousness. Very exciting times. Take a good look at yourself in the mirror tonight, because you're not going to recognize yourself in the mirror 1 week from now. That I will put money on right now. I wish I could gamble, make money on that gamble. Gosh darn it. Well, I am right here. All right. So we can't go deeper than that. I'd love to, though. Venus does trine Pluto early that morning. So I actually got my slides out of order, which I knew was happening, but Venus will trine Pluto. So this is interesting. This happens before Jupiter comes into Gemini. So before Jupiter hits Gemini, Venus trines Pluto. So there's this check-in of like, okay, where does my mind belong? Look at this. The sun at 4 degrees and 44 minutes. Holy shift. That's at the same moment that the Venus trines Pluto. This is the programming of the universe. This is why I love it so much. It's literally the programming right there. You can see it. But in this moment, we sort of make sure that self-love is important. Self-love is important. Step 1, self-love is important. And that's what we open our mind to. And then our heart's like, well, what level do I belong thinking about myself? What level do I belong thinking? And Venus is trining Pluto and saying, self-love, dummy. Like, it's shouting self-love is the mantra of the new I think I am. And we see that here with Venus trining. Then we get to Monday, and Mercury sextiles Saturn. So the interesting thing here is that Mercury in Taurus is sort of coordinating our plans for reality with our spiritual plans. So we're tying in here with the plans, right? We have here a little bit of a grand trine, kind of. This is really a ghost energy. A lunar eclipse is a ghost of energy. It's not really energy. So it doesn't fully activate like a grand trine, but it does inside of you, but not so much outside of you, is what I found. But the point is the moon crosses Pluto, of course, and this is right after Venus just trine Pluto. So we emotionally follow up with that trine. And from this point on, we're now coordinating what we're manifesting with what our spiritual ideas are. Moving ahead, I want to see what these slides say. Okay, then Mars will conjoin Chiron right here at 22 degrees on Wednesday, hump day. Remember I always say the shift hits a fan on hump day. It's always a change in the narrative on hump day. It's so funny how that happens. What this means is this is you facing your ego overcomes your fear of rejection, your fear of creating chaos, your fear of stirring the pot, your fear of being at the wrong place at the wrong time. This is the ego basically couraging up to become a disruptor. By the way, tonight's guest is a step 22 something. A step 22 something. I'm just going to say that. I know we got a lot of 22s in the audience. We're going to be really excited to hear tonight's guest is a 22. But I'm going to tell tonight's guest about this and put a live webcam on her and see what happens on Wednesday. All right. And then lastly, I know we're running a little late than we normally do. Mercury, then we end the week on Friday, May 31st, early in the morning. So it's really right before Mercury and Uranus conjoin at 24 degrees Taurus. Remember I said we start bringing in the gold and calling in the gold, basically. This is when it really starts to happen with Mercury, when the mind realizes that we do deserve it and we will be abundant. And I'll just say, by the way, that all my trips and all my vacationing and stuff, I'm going top of the line with everything right now. I'm just treating myself like the king that I am, the king of love. Um, because I know right now that investment with all that Mercury and Uranus and Taurus, you are setting new standards. So people ought to be moving to whole new tax brackets right now in their capacity to manifest. All right, friends, it's now time to talk about you. Go steep yourself some tea and let's have our tea time. Welcome to Tea Time, friends. This is the segment. Oh, we still have Black Moon Lilith up there. Look at her. Lilith still haunting me. She's still haunting me, Lilith. Alrighty. I am pulling up my notes, and as you can tell, I'm a lot more comfortable in my own skin. Have you noticed that? I have. I'm so much more comfortable in my own skin, which is, I think, a post-Chiron return thing, but feels really good. Today, we're going to talk about 4 areas of our chart in our horoscopes. I don't think I'm in the center. It's driving me crazy there. There we go. It's kind of funny how you have to set stuff up. 4 areas of life. 4 areas of life energetically. I'm going to talk about what the sun in Gemini, where in your life are you going to have this grand I am moment with yourself? Where are you going to have the grand I am moment? Okay. That's the sun in Gemini. But it's also Venus in Gemini and Jupiter in Gemini. So it's going to be a party in Gemini, and so am I in Gemini. Okay. Gemini, and so am I. Then I'm going to talk about Mercury conjoining Uranus, Mercury, the ruler of Gemini, hitting Uranus. So not only do we have this grand I am statement, this I think I am statement, we have this grand I can manifest too. And that's with Mercury conjoining Uranus. So I'll talk about where Uranus will take your thinking even higher to where you were thinking before. And for me, what I realized was, I realized something I thought was way off in the future is going to happen now. Like now is in the next 3 to 5 years. And I was just like, whoa. So surprised, because it's been nothing but uphill and slow my whole life. And now suddenly it's just racing. Then I'm going to talk about Mars conjoining Chiron and that moment that you will have and where you'll have that moment when it comes to facing fears and trauma of the unexpected. That's basically what it is. You're going to face your fear of the unknown, and you're going to get some courage to expect the unexpected and get really excited about expecting the unexpected. Get excited about that and make it into a positive thing. And then I'm going to talk about Saturn and Neptune and the 2 notes that they are playing in your spiritual consciousness. And as a result, where you want to keep the faith and stay true to what you've learned spiritually. All right. And as always, I'll put here on the side which of the signs I am talking about as I drink my hydrogen water. Let's start with the Aries. Aries. There we go. Aries, the I think I am for you is the way you think of yourself. This is a major new moment this is Aries thinking of themselves in a whole new light, in a whole new way. Knowing Aries, because you sort of have blinders on, you get really focused on, what you know, and you get your nose, you put your rubber to the road and your nose to the grind, and you just you actually miss a lot of things. And so you probably, kind of like Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz, you could have gone home at any time. You could have realized it about yourself at any time. But by the way you manage consciousness with just being like kind of right in front of you, you missed it. So you're going to have, I think, a grand I am in the way you think of yourself in a profound way. Mercury on Uranus does say that you're going to create, abundance. So you are going to think differently about abundance this week. You're going to think differently about an investment, or think differently about how to make money, or think different about how to make widgets and make lots of widgets, or lots and lots of bunnies and lots of bunny rabbits. So you're going to be thinking about elevating your thinking about money and abundance. Now, where you're going to have to face fears of the unexpected is your character. Your character is going to a place that you may not have thought you were going to go, is what it's looking like when I put all this together. It looks like you're heading to become someone you did not anticipate becoming, is what it looks like. And it might be something that's like family curse, or something that like, if only it was anything but that kind of thing, right? But it is, and you got to feel your way through it. So you're facing fears of who you are becoming. And Saturn and Neptune both have, Saturn is saying it's time to be committed to your faith and it's time to push the envelope of your relationship to God. So Neptune is saying, ask for more than you normally would have asked. Like whatever your level of asking God for help is, go higher on this one. Go ahead and call in a favor. Go ahead. Like that's what Neptune's saying. You might have to. Part of your lesson is how close you get to God, which is something you also haven't paid attention to with you being so nerded out on just like the practicals of life. So interesting time for the air eye. All right. Taurus. People always say like the way I say Taurus. Taurus, that there's a moan in that. Taurus. Yeah, there's a moan in that. It's so funny when you're a Taurus, you always get, it's funny because Taurus is step 10 and 10 is 2 numbers. And Tauruses always get 2 months of everything, 60 days. Because, in Aries, in Taurus, for instance, everyone on the planet is working on their money and their manifestation, right? So in Taurus, you're working on manifestation. We are in Taurus still. No need to get confused there. But then the next month in Gemini, we then work on manifestation again because Gemini rules our house of manifestation. But we also work on our thoughts in Gemini and manifestation. So Tauruses are always working on 2 things at once, and everything is always working for 60 days. That's why we're so slow. We take 60 days for every transit, FYI. May not have known that. Oh my God, I saw Daryl. There's Daryl. Hey, Daryl. It was so nice knowing Daryl and hanging out with him. My soul brother came to Texas. It was great. Lots of great pictures. Daryl, you need to send me that picture, man. I didn't get a copy of that. I didn't get a copy of that picture, dude. All right. So my point, Taurus, is your thoughts of your self-worth. You may know your worth or seen your worth, but your mind, according to the astrology, is not thinking like your worth. So you have this grand realization of what you're worth. And I have to say that's true for me. I didn't realize what I was worth until I had so many hugs and so many thank yous from people. I didn't realize. I just got to say, I thought it was pretty cool, but Now Mercury on Uranus says you're going to take who you think of yourself as a character is going to go higher than you thought. So however you thought of yourself as a character, it's going to go higher, even higher than you once thought, which is interesting. I already said that's happening to me. Mars conjoining Chiron means you are now taking your relationship to God to a higher level. You're concerned about being a disruptor of God. So you're worried about getting away with God stuff. I know I'm on the right side. If you listen to your heart, you're always on the right side of God. So it's an easy one for me. I just have to throw it by my heart. My heart don't like it. God don't like it. But you're facing fears and trauma of the unexpected from the universe. You're facing fears of and I'm having this too, because it seems like when everything start getting good, that's usually when my life hits the fan. And so I had that worry come up because it's starting to get good again. So I was like waiting to get smacked by the universe. And I know it's not going to happen. I know this time it's not. And then Saturn and Neptune says, Taurus, you're taking responsibility, spiritual responsibility for your social relationship. So I just came the next version of myself in society at Unite the Light. And that's who I am now, the Sensei to Serious Joy. It's like a different level. And you push the envelope with your social ambition right now. Push, push, push. The universe is going to open up to things that normally don't happen or allow you to get by certain things that normally hold people back. All right. Gemini. Happy birthday, Gemini. I saw my Gemini sun when I was in Texas. Geminis are changing how they think about the way they should treat themselves. So Geminis are learning to treat themselves better, basically, and think differently about the way they ought to be treated. God, I can think of so much stuff. It's going to be interesting to see how much Geminis change. I'm really excited to see Geminis change with Jupiter coming into Gemini. You're going to grow so much in the next year. You might grow out of some relationships, by the way, and into other ones. So go with the flow of what your heart is telling you. But you are going to think of yourself in a different way now. And it will come from the way you ought to treat yourself. Maybe letting yourself get away with things. Maybe not worrying about stuff that you used to worry about. I mean, I think it's just going to be a firestorm of change. 2012 was the last time you had this happen. The Mercury conjunct Uranus is your relationship to God goes to a higher level. So you too, Aries, Taurus, and Gemini are all being encouraged to pray and get closer to God than they normally do. And your relationship to God is going to be a lot higher. You're going to realize basically your magic in the universe and your capacity to make magic happen, I think is what's going to happen. Now, Mars conjoining Chiron at 22 means you must now face your fears of being outed by society or not liked by society or tomatoes thrown at you on stage. You're basically, facing your fears of being a trailblazer or a disruptor in public. But your ideas are here to disrupt. The last time Pluto was in Capricorn rather, and moving into Aquarius, we had lines like "Give me liberty" or "Give me death." That was said by a Gemini. Okay, so all the great quotes of the American Revolution came from Gemini. So I think you're being called to stage, and so your place in the world is going to be something you probably didn't anticipate. The Saturn Neptune is really around career direction and legacy retirement. So you must take responsibility in your career right now. I said this to my son. I'm like, you got to do this now. And he's just like, but I was just like, no, I'm telling you got it right now. You don't have to your whole life, but right now you got to put the foot on the gas. You got to go for it, because this is a big growth moment, because there will be times where you're just sort of coasting. This isn't one of them. And you can maybe get away with things in your career that normally other people wouldn't be able to do, like getting into a job without certification, getting into a job without the background. Maybe they'll train you. So a lot of magical doorways opening up for careers and Geminis. Oops, gosh, I like this new mic arm, but I keep bumping it with my right arm because I'm a righty. Our indigo water for the indigo generation. All right. Cancers. Cancer, your thoughts of faith. So the way your issues around faith, and I'm definitely seeing this with my mom right now in the hospital, your issues around faith, the way you think of faith inside you is not working. Okay. If you worry, you don't have good faith. Okay. So faith is a connection to spirit. It's a literal connection to spirit. In your connection, you are mentally connected to spirit because you have Gemini in the 12th house. And so you're going to actually increase your connection to spirit over the next year. You're going to become far more psychic, far more connected, far more telepathic. But the first step is your thoughts around faith. And really where your mind will choose worry over faith, or your mind will choose fear over faith, which is really worry over faith is fear over faith. So you're going to have to expand your thoughts of how you have faith in yourself and having faith in yourself. Now, Mercury on Uranus is your social ambition is going to be taken to a higher level than you anticipated. So the universe is saying, nope, actually, where you're going to end up in society is even higher than you thought, or over here, or doing this. So you're going to be mentally guided to a new role in society this week. Then, of course, we have the Mars Chiron conjunction. And for you, this is around career legacy, that facing any fear or worry or trauma you have around being a disruptor in your career, someone who shakes things up in your career. Or it could also be someone who brings disruption back to peace. That 22 energy can work both ways of Mars. It can either disrupt or it can bring to peace. But you are realizing that you have one of those two roles in your career, and facing any issues you have around being a peacemaker or a disruptor in your career. And Saturn and Neptune, Saturn says you must be very committed to your belief in life. Stay very true to your belief about what life is. Do not refuse contrary to your belief at this time. And also at the same time, you can push the envelope as far as life purpose. Life can turn out to be about something you never thought it was going to be about. There can be a surprise, happy ending there about the meaning and purpose that you've been brought to a certain thing in your life. And that's the Cancers. All right. Leos. My sweet Leos. Leos, you are rethinking your position in the world. So where you think you belong in the world. Maybe you've been the quiet one. Maybe you've been the outspoken one. Maybe you've been the one who was warning the public. Maybe you're the one who is nurturing the public. How you think of yourself in the public is changing. And I, like my buddy David, I know you're a father now. So it's like, for him, it's like a no-brainer. He's a father now. It's like he has a family. It's like the way you think of yourself in the context of the world is completely different now. So for some people, it's like sort of obvious like that, where it is tied to your life, like literally in an obvious conclusion. And sometimes it's like, no, you're actually an author, a poet, a writer. You're something you didn't realize you were, or you have a different expression of your language ability. So Leos are going to maybe step into a different form of being a messenger or change the message with Jupiter and Gemini, but really finding their place in the world. In fact, I think I think David came out as an astrologer when Jupiter was in Gemini, actually. So I'm just using my buddy Leo as an example. Way to go, buddy. So thoughts of who you're supposed to be in the world is what's changing right now. And the grand I am is who you are in the world. Mercury, Uranus conjunction is career legacy. Your thoughts of career legacy, they go to a higher level than you thought, to a new level than you thought this week. So a lot of exciting career legacy building for you this week. I think the Mars Chiron is around life purpose, that your life has turned out to be a purpose that causes disruption and also causes the peace. So you are coming to terms with where you are a belief system destroyer and a belief system disruptor, and probably becoming okay with being a belief system disruptor. And maybe you have always been okay, but you let the public get to you. And now you're saying you're not going to let the public get to you. So it could be that it's always been okay, but it used to get to you at night or something, right? And then lastly, Saturn and Neptune is, you got to be very clear on the boundaries, because the boundaries where you cross lines or don't cross lines is pretty much where you're controlling the matrix and where you're in the matrix. So it's all on the buttons on the rides. And Neptune at 29 says that, right now you can actually break rules that aren't, not supposed to be able to happen, like bend space time or manifest something that others, would have 10 years would manifest. You'll manifest in 10 days. A lot of special magic for the Leos right now, and the Leo risings like myself. Virgo, the virtuosos. You are rethinking self-discipline. And I think this is a big one for Virgos, because you have really, honestly, horrible self-discipline tactics. Horrible. I just have to throw you under the bus here, and how you put yourself down, or you overthink it, or you just nag yourself to death, or you criticize yourself, or you stay up at night worrying, thinking about it. Like, these are the self-motivation tactics of an old school Virgo. It's completely unnecessary. You can get far more out of yourself with the right attitude. And so I think for Virgos, this is really them getting their mind out of their way. I also think a lot of Virgos have crazy obsessions with Geminis. And I think that if you are one of those Virgos that has an obsessive relationship with a Gemini, and I know so many Virgos and Geminis in obsessive relationships, it sort of gets broken apart now. Or will finally come together if it's meant to come together. So far, I haven't heard of one coming together. Now, Mercury and Uranus conjoining is that your life purpose is higher than you once thought. So you're going to realize your life purpose is much higher in only a way that you will understand. Mars on Chiron says that the transformation that you're going to have to do is going to disrupt a lot of people, a lot of lives. You're going to rock a lot of boats by you changing, and you should not allow the worry of how it's going to make other people uncomfortable keep you from changing. Too bad they signed up to be in your life. Just take responsibility for yourself, not others right now in that particular moment. And then the Saturn Neptune has to do with relationships. Like, when it comes to relationships, you know exactly what you should do and what you shouldn't do. And when it comes to partnerships and love right now, you are manifesting miracles, and you are getting away with things that normally you would not get away with, such as, seeing him at the bar, and then on your way out in the lobby the next morning, there he is again. Like, what? The person I was obsessing over is in front of me again. Neptune at 29 is going to pull off a lot of miracles like that, to make sure you're on the right course for what your fate is in relationships. So pretty exciting for the virtuosos, in my opinion. Libras. God, I don't know why, but as soon as I said Libra, Viva Las Vegas came in my head. Viva Las Vegas, like Elvis, Viva Las Vegas. I got Elvis in my ear singing Viva Las Vegas. I don't know what it means. It's probably for one of you guys, but it did interrupt and intrude my psychic space. So it's some spirit hijacking the ride. But it's about thoughts about believing in yourself. So you are thinking differently about the way you believe in yourself, the reasons why you believe in yourself, what you believe about yourself, what you once believed and what you now believe. This is changing in a big way. So Libras are going to go through a huge transformation of their belief structure, and they're coming out of a lot of, you are very stubborn about the way you think, honestly. And so you're going to open up now and, think in different terms. Now, the Mercury conjunction Uranus is your life's going to change a whole lot more than you realize. You're going to see this week that your life's going to change a lot more than you once realized. And it might involve being a bit uncomfortable for a short period of time during the transition. The Mars conjunction with Chiron says, don't be afraid to rock the boat in relationships right now, because if you don't rock the boat by pursuing where you belong, you will miss your opportunity and you will not get it back. So this is your time. You're going to have to rock the boat. You're going to disappoint people. Libras are leaving and moving on to other relationships right now. And this is one of those moments. This is a green light breakup moment. If you're a Libra and you've been waiting for when to go, this is a when to go. That'd also be a net 6 as well. Any net 6s out there? This is a key that you probably time to go ahead and rip off that Band-Aid and let them know. Okay. Now, Saturn and Neptune are saying, hey, you got to be very committed to, the life you're meant to live is very clear. The work you're meant to work on is very clear. Don't stray from that. And you will get away with some miracles when it comes to lifestyles or healing. So don't allow any diagnosis to hold you back right now. Miracles are happening for Libras and spontaneous healing in the body, which is interesting. We'll maybe talk about that with tonight's guest. Scorpio, you have to change the way you think when it comes to trusting yourself, and you're going to actually rewrite all your boundaries in the next year. I'm hearing a lot of Scorpios making a lot of big changes in their life, sales of homes, changing countries, changing states, changing work industries, leaving relationships. A lot of Scorpios leaving relationships, starting relationships. So all your thinking around trusting yourself is what's going to have to grow and change. Saturn on Uranus means that your partnership and your existing marriages will go to a higher level and think on a higher level and start to adopt a higher operating system in your partnerships and marriage this week. Mars on Chiron says that you will be a bit of a disruptor at work. You will be a bit of a disruptor in lifestyle. You are meant to disrupt in daily life. You're here to rock the boat in your work environment, in your routine environment, at band camp, whatever. And Saturn says, you must stay very strong and committed to what your heart wants and have an unwavering attitude about what your heart expects to manifest. And when it comes to dreams and wishes, miracles are happening for Scorpios with dreams and wishes through September, by the way. So that's a long period of dreams and wishes coming true for Scorpios. It's way too soon to call the race Scorpio. Sagittarius, the unicorns. So lovely seeing our lovely Heather Exposito, the master of ceremonies of Sagittarius. I would definitely go with the Sagittarius as an MC again. It's very good vibration. Sagittarius are changing the way they think of themselves in their mirage. So how they think of themselves. So, I don't know. I'm imagining that Heather thinks of herself in a whole new light after doing that for us. I think Sagittarius are going to think of themselves in a whole new light. I'm also seeing Sagittarius announcing engagements and connections in long-term partnerships. So that's totally Jupiter and Gemini. I predict all Sagittarius will be snatched up within a year if they are single. The Mercury conjunction with Uranus is your lifestyle and your work is going to go to a higher level than you were thinking. So you're being taken to a higher level of work or lifestyle living. It's something you just couldn't see until you got there. Mars on Chiron says your dreams and wishes, for you to have your dreams and your wishes come true means you're going to disappoint some people, and you have no way of getting out of that. You have to disappoint. They were meant to be disappointed by you. Frankly, if I had to choose a sign to disappoint me, I'd choose Sag. Heather, don't go too far with that idea. But the idea is, I just think that Sages are the best to disappoint. So just, follow your heart and don't waver on that. And with Saturn and Neptune in Pisces, you must be very clear about your home, your family, how you're going to live, the way that's going to go. Stay on course for the changes in home and family. And when it comes to home and family, you will get away with things that most people won't. Lots of dreams and wishes around home and family, including home purchases or, having the HM, the homeowners association approve your application, just lots of miracles happening around the home. Capricorns are having new thoughts about health right now. So it is time for Capricorns to think about how they live in the body, how much stress do they live in, how much are you in the nutrition? Are you in high vibration foods? Are you eating lots of greens? Are you getting enough fiber? Seriously, Capricorns, it's time to think that way. If you already think that way, then the next level is the energy of your moment. Does your moment go into loathing? Does it go into worry? Does it go into discontent? How do you allow your energy in the moment to change? Capricorn's lifestyles will change in the next year, completely change. That's change work habits, change routines, change coworkers, change systems, change jobs. Lots of change in daily life happening for the Cappies in the next year. The Mercury-Uranus conjunction is around dreams and wishes. A dream or wish of yours is going to end up going higher than you anticipated and having more of a return than you once thought. So keep your mind open to win big when it comes to personal dreams. When it comes to home, family, and emotional security, you have to be willing to be a disruptor. You're going to be the disruptor in the home. You've got to be comfortable with the fact that you are the disruptor in the home and that you are playing that role at this time. It's necessary for you to break up the way you emotionally end up feeling grounded. So you have to tear up that cement in order to have a stronger foundation. And Saturn and Neptune are saying your thoughts and your plans and your ideas are all spot on. So you are thinking correctly. Your strategy is correct. And if you don't have solutions, there are miracle solutions that can come of things you had not thought of. So believe it or not, you have not thought of it all, Capricorn. There's a lot of information if you open up to your intuitive mind. All right, 2 more. Aquarius. The Aquariuses are changing their thoughts of self-love. So the way you love yourself. I am seeing this in some of our local Aquariuses. Robbie Hunt, I think loving yourself a whole lot more. I'm seeing Scott love himself. Scott Cruz love himself for all different reasons. Those are my 2 local Grandmaster Aquariuses that I keep my eyes on. Both energies are interesting to watch. So really the way you think of, I think you're learning to integrate thinking loving of yourself in smaller thoughts. So like with the soap you buy, or giving yourself more time to come up with the answer, letting yourself say no, you don't want to go out because you don't feel like it, just more loving in the subtle things. But Jupiter and Gemini for Aquarius is true love. Aquariuses are falling in love. Aquariuses are pursuing creative projects that they love, creative projects that inspire them. So a huge creative growth year for the Aquas. The Mercury-Uranus conjunctions around home, family, and emotional security. Turns out the home can be better. You can come from even a better home. Remember, home is also your emotional self, not just your literal house you live in. Mars on Chiron says that, yes, you have to be okay with being a disruptor in the world of ideas. So you're going to put out ideas that people don't like. You're going to say things that get censored. You're going to go too far at times with what you say or do. And in some cases, it makes things worse before they're better, but it stirs the pot and gets people talking and gets the conversation started. And then Saturn Neptune says your money, where you're going with money right now, is spot on. Keep going that direction when it comes to money and finances. And you're going to be able to pull off some miracles with money or investments that other people would not be able to pull off. So God is pulling strings for Aquas and money. How about that? And then the Pisces. Pisces are changing the way they're thinking about self-nurturing and how they care for their own feelings. So Pisces, you're like a polished instrument, a very fine microphone. You have to be handled with kid gloves. Your feelings have to be handled very gently because you pick up on so much empathic energy. I noticed Scott Cruz is a Pisces, a 5-degree Pisces at Unite the Light, and I could feel how sensitive he is. He's it's very, very sensitive. I could just feel it. So you're learning how to think for your feelings in different ways, and maybe to consider yourself as very strongly an empath. And you're going to emotionally ground, move, maybe relocate this year, move to a new home. You might end up changing where you move so the energy is better for you, so you feel better. So it's time to think differently about home, feelings, family. There might be some family reuniting that happens too, by the way. That's all what's happening with Jupiter and the Sun and Gemini. And the summer of love will come and stem from home situations. Now, Mercury on your Uranus is that some attitude, some strategy, some diabolical plan that you have is actually has more to it than you realize. So you have more potential with one of your plans than you might have thought. So this week you can expect your plans to basically unfold in exciting ways. And I'm actually realizing here that some of the glare on my face is actually the monitors here. Sorry about that. So expect an idea to go much higher than you once thought. Mars on Chiron says that when it comes to money, you're going to be a disruptor. You're going to either, put some people not out of business, but like Uber has put cab drivers out of business. You're going to disrupt with what you're doing. Don't be afraid to make waves when it comes to finances and money. Don't be afraid to be that guy, that monopoly guy or that monopoly girl. Honestly, spiritual people can't graduate the earth until they've also had money in abundance. So no one gets away with it. Being spiritual does not mean poor. And if you haven't been wealthy before, you have to be able to graduate earth. So so don't knock it till you tried it. But Saturn is saying that your behavior, your character, the new things you're doing in life, these are all straight, correct, on path at this point. You are on path. And when it comes to your character can get away with things that other people can't get away with. So you really should just go for it and see what sticks and see what happens. And we'll go from there. All right, friends, we're going to do a little intermission here. And when I come back, Dr. Jennifer Lisa Vest is here, healer, teacher, and author. And we're going to talk about healing and all sorts of stuff. We'll be back in about 4.5 minutes. We'll see you then. Keep streaming. From Saturday, May 25th to Friday, May 31st, 2024. Looking ahead first at the weekend forecast. Over the weekend, it's a little bit of a bumpy ride as you realize the way you think about yourself may not be in the best light. Let's drill down. On Saturday, it's sunny and novel. Step 4 means Uranus rules the day. We are thinking paradoxically and reimagining what self-love can be. Also, Venus trines Pluto, which sort of demands that self-love realization. And Jupiter enters into Gemini for the next year, so expect to expand your thoughts. But with the moon in Capricorn and the sun at step 4, it's going to be a weird day. We'll put it that way. On Sunday, it's sunny and rather serious. Step 5 means Mercury rules for this Grand Master Day. You're going to be thinking proactively on this day, really coming up with a new way to think about yourself. You're also holding space for those little quiet ideas. It's going to be a great day, very strong and centered with the moon in Capricorn. Looking ahead at the 5-day weekday forecast, over the course of the next week, you take this new idea about yourself that you came up with over the weekend and you expand on it through the week. On Monday, it's sunny and professional. Step 6 means that Venus rules the day. You'll be thinking very fairly on this day. Your heart is open, going back and forth on this Venus ruled day. You're moving ahead with the logistics of what needs to happen. And Mercury sextiles Saturn, so your mind is really in check with your spiritual responsibilities. That's the professional side of the day. The moon will shift from Capricorn into Aquarius, so expect emotionally to feel as if you belong, or maybe you don't belong and you need to move on. On Tuesday, it's cloudy and introverted. Step 7 means Neptune rules the day. So this is a spiritual, intuitive day where you're basically picking up on things that the mind might normally skip over. You're preparing for change, basically. And with the moon in Aquarius, you're feeling out where you belong. On Wednesday, it's sunny and awkward. That's because step 8 is making Saturn rule the day. It's a day of easy self-judgment. You're thinking decisively on this day, and you're doing some courageous innovating of your life. So the universe is pushing you to move forward. This is happening particularly with Mars conjoining Chiron. So you may feel a push to heal something that was once a faux pas or a mistake. The moon's in Pisces, so you're very intuitive and you're feeling your new spiritual story. On Thursday, it's sunny and evolving. You're going to feel ideas rushing forward. Step 9 means Mars rules the day. So these are thinking in order to act. So thinking through actions, thinking through what needs to happen. You are accepting your new potential much stronger now. And Mercury conjoining Uranus is part of that. Your mind is realizing just how far things can evolve. And your mind is moving forward with that new way of thinking inside of yourself. And activating that new thinking is activating the new timeline. And then on Friday, it's sunny and growing. Step 10 means that Earth rules this day. It's a manifestation day. I think to create on this day, and you are reimagining what the future can be. The moon will shift from Pisces into Aries, so you're really going to feel the rubber hit the road. And the sun squares Juno, which means you may come to a new turning point in how you look at long-term relationships going forward. But overall, we wrap up the week feeling very valuable and excited for the summer of love.
It's serious joy, joy, joy.
Welcome to ASTRO Mingle, the spiritual podcast that mingles with the talented light workers and innovative influencers of our time. Part of our human enlightenment is the realization that we hold the power to heal ourselves, and tonight's guest appears to be an expert. Dr. Jennifer Lisa Vest is a healer, a teacher, and an author in the realms of healing, ethical psychic practice, and philosophy. With over 12 years practice as a medical intuitive, Dr. Vest has guided countless individuals through the labyrinth of their health medical mysteries, healing them to align and heal with their true life purpose. Dr. Vest's capacities also include mediumship, reading the akashic records, Reiki, and past life regressions as well. And you can find more about her on her website at drvestmedicalintuitive.com. We'll be giving you that link later on again. So please send some waves of love and gratitude to my guest tonight, Step 22 Gemini, medical intuitive, Dr. Jennifer Lisa Vest. Hello.
Hello. It's so good to be here.
It's a pleasure to make your acquaintance. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. I don't know what a Step 22 Gemini is, so I'm looking.
Oh my goodness. I'm so glad to be the one to break the news to you.
to find out what it is.
Well, honestly, it's sort of a mental shaman. It's a person who can using the power of emotion and directed conscious thought energy can transmute energy. So you can heal energy, you can transmute, you can change how we feel about things on a social societal level. It's sort of a magician of societal thought and emotion, really. So I imagine you're stirring the pot in good ways.
Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah.
My mom, Michael, was an astrologer, and so I'm sure she knew what a Step 22 Gemini was. I remember she used to just tell me that I was a very, what does she say? Like a Gemini, that I was very Gemini.
Yeah, you are. You're a master Gemini. You have a Grandmaster Mercury, by the way. So that means that you have completely mapped out human thought in all of your lifetimes. You understand the full expression of human thought. You are a commander of human thought. You also, pretty powerful spiritual leader spiritually. And here's the thing. The irony is you stirred the pot probably with organized religion in a past life, and that brought you down. And here you are doing it again. Good job.
Thanks.
Good job. I'm proud of you. So you have, I'm going to go deeper in your resume. Because I just want to read it. It's incredible. And then I want to ask you sort of how you got started. But just to name a few, if I may. PhD in Indigenous Philosophy and Ethics Studies from UC Berkeley, an MA in Caribbean History from Howard. That's got to be a past life. I'm going to ask you that. A BA in Physics from Hampshire College. Her first career was as a philosophy professor. She's a certified quantum healing hypnosis technique, QHHT practitioner, and a master Reiki practitioner. Spent 5 years being trained by spiritualists and has been trained in the traditions of African American hoodoo, Native American sweat lodge, Jamaican revivalism, Trinidadian Shango. I have no idea what that is. You'll have to tell me. And spirituality from community elders. And that's on Tuesday. Okay, so that is a Grandmaster Mercury, folks, if you want to know what a Grandmaster Mercury. So did you have how did you get started? Do you have a vision quest at age 4? Where you saw you seem to be on path from the very beginning.
Oh, it was even better than that. I was really fortunate in that I incarnated with spirit teachers, and they started taking me out of my body for as long as I can remember. As a small child, I would go on these conscious out of body travels every night, and and they would take me to school, to spirit school. They would take me to the future, to the past. They would take me to different parts of the world, and they were just kind of training me. And so I think I was really fortunate in that I had those teachers. And then I always had a bunch of spirits around me all the time. When I finally ended up, whenever I would end up in any kind of spiritual community, people would always come up to me and say, "Oh my God, you have all these spirits with you." It was always the same story.
Wow.
And so I remember when I was hanging out with the spiritualists, and everyone was talking about their spirit guide. And I was like, I cannot relate, because I always had a group, and people were always talking about having one person or two people like with them. And I always had a crowd of people. I call them my council now. So, I mean, I think I was really fortunate in that I had that guidance really early on. I also had kind of an epiphany when I was 9, where I was living in the south of France, and I was kind of running wild because our parents were not really taking care of us. And so I was just kind of in nature a lot and spending a lot of time with the trees. And I had this, for some reason at that age, I started to, probably because of trauma, I started to ask a lot of questions about, why am I here? What's my purpose? What is it all about? And I made some, rules for myself at age 9 about my life. And I had a clear sense that I was here, that I had come here on a mission. And I just always had that sense.
Me too, by the way.
Yeah. And so I think I didn't realize for a long time, like when I was growing up, that everyone didn't have that. I thought everyone had that, right? And I remember when I found out, it made me so sad. In fact, I'm feeling really sad now thinking about remembering it. When I thought about people having to navigate this very difficult world without any guidance, without any sense of why they came, and how sad that is, and how hard that is for people. And I probably
that's you 22ing. That's you right there, scrubbing consciousness right there.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I'm feeling bad for all the people. It's like, that's you 22 scrubbing. That's the voodoo stuff right there. But yeah, fascinating.
And that's really my purpose here is, to help people figure out their purpose. But yeah,
interesting.
I was born with a lot of gifts. It wasn't something that I was always comfortable with. I had, good and bad experiences with my gifts growing up. It wasn't like I was born with these gifts and I was just like, yeah, this is great.
Right.
And I kept trying to, kind of not deal with them. So I wanted to just be an intellectual. And so I was very much on a scholarly path.
Obviously.
I didn't want to be a weirdo. And that was the reaction I was getting from a lot of people when I was younger, was that I was, whenever they would see this part of me, I was a weirdo. If I, like when I was 12 and I told my family that someone was going to die, and then it was like, it was really a problem for people that I knew my cousin was going to die, and then he died. And I got a lot of messages from certain members of my family that it was weird and something I should keep quiet about. And then luckily I had other members of my family who were psychic and who encouraged me. Like my mom was a psychic, and I had a great grandmother who kind of took me aside very young, was like, "You're like me." But unfortunately she died when I was 10, my great grandmother. So I kind of was like, oh, I don't really want to be the weirdo. And so I tried to keep it quiet. Like it was this side of me that I was trying to keep under wraps. But, it just didn't happen that way, because everywhere I went, these teachers just kept showing up and grabbing me and saying, this is who you are, and we're going to teach you. And it really wasn't until I got very sick and went to a medical intuitive. And she said to me, look, you need to deal with your gifts. You need to stop with this love-hate relationship. And until you fully deal with them, fully embrace them, you're going to be sick. And I was willing to do anything to get better. And so that's when I got really serious about, getting training, because prior to that, I'd been getting training from people and I had never sought it out. They were always seeking me out. The teachers would, and I would kind of, okay, okay, I'll
Are you
do it
talking on earth or in heaven?
on
Or-
earth.
Okay.
Yeah. So in terms of human teachers, I was not ever seeking out human teachers of this type of work
Mm-hmm.
until I got really sick. And then I was like, okay, I have to start seeking them out instead of just waiting for teachers to show up. And that was a big pivot for me when I kind of left academia and got really serious about working as a healer.
Interesting. And how old were you at that moment?
When I left my professorship, I was how old was I? I don't know. It was
Ballpark.
where are we now? So it was about 15 years ago. So I guess like 45.
Okay. That makes total sense.
45.
Yeah, because Uranus is opposing Uranus during that time, and that's actually midlife crisis.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
That's the astrological midlife crisis. And for you, it was I got to go into this hokey stuff.
I got to stop hiding.
Yeah, exactly. And you have a moon in Sag too, so we can talk about that backstage. But it makes you like this really, really smart blend of the whole spectrum of that consciousness. But your astrology shows that you were born very conflicted about who you are, and in conflict with who you are. So I think you've just described that process right there to us, of really giving yourself permission on the inside. Yeah. And you've been, I think, I'm not going to out your private details of your chart, by the way. It's like, so please don't get nervous. It's not really fair or correct, especially as a woman who wrote a book about morals and psychic activity. I don't want to trip up here and do anything that's not appropriate. But it is fascinating. So it seems like, going back to your bio, do you think you had some sort of a Caribbean past life? Where'd that come from?
Oh, I do have some Caribbean heritage.
Got you.
So my great grandfather was an immigrant from Haiti, and I was interested. I'm a mixed person, and it's interesting that I ended up getting training in all of the traditions that are related to my heritage, but I didn't set out to do that. It just
That's interesting. Yeah.
And so I ended up getting training in the Caribbean, and I wasn't seeking it. I actually was going over there as a graduate student doing doing research. And, I was really trying to just be an intellectual and just be on this scholarly path and keep this other side of me kind of quiet. But I kept getting pulled in. So I was going over to the Caribbean, and I was working for this professor, and I thought I was just doing, research for her. But I ended up getting just invited to all these ceremonies, and all of these teachers just kind of taking me and saying, look, we're going to train you. You're one of us. And so I was very fortunate in that regard.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, or you drew it in. I mean, yeah. I don't personally believe in fortune. I believe it's all spiritual talent.
Well, it's all by design, right? Because every training that I got, perfectly positioned me to do the work that I do now.
Right.
And so,
looking
happen
back, chance.
It all makes sense that
right.
I was led to the right teachers at the right time. Mm-hmm.
So you are a medical intuitive. That's how that's one of the many hats.
Yes.
Which is really profound. First of all, how did you start seeing into bodies? When did that happen?
Well, from a really early age, I was out of control clairsentient. And that's what I call it when I teach my students now. It's like when you have really intense clairsentience where you can pick up other people's emotions and other people's symptoms in their body, but you don't have control of it. And so as a result, you can be sick when other people are sick and it's not your illness. I used to find being in hospitals just really, really painful, not just because of the physical symptoms, but also because I'm a medium. I was also picking up all of the energy from all of the really unhappy earthbound spirits who hang out in hospitals.
Wow.
My mother used to always warn me against ever being a healer. She was, in fact, even when I became one, she was always telling me, you shouldn't do this work. You shouldn't do this work. It's too dangerous. You're going to get hurt. And
Mm.
because she saw how I was as a kid, picking up everybody's symptoms. Once I finally started to train seriously as a healer, and I learned how to control that, um, and I started taking all of these classes and, psychic development and mediumship. Every time I would do a practice session, in class, it'd say, "Oh, sit down and do a practice reading with your classmate." I was always picking up their ailments, and I was either seeing them or feeling them or just knowing them, or sometimes I would hear them because I use all the clairs. And and when I work mediumistically, I kept getting cause of death. And so my teacher
Mm.
said to me, this is a specialty that is very rare, and you definitely have it. You should pursue this. And back then, there weren't a lot of medical intuitives. Like now, they're everywhere. Now there's books everywhere. It's really a burgeoning field, which is so exciting. But back
Hmm.
then, there weren't teachers, there weren't books, and they said, this is a really rare gift. And it was true that in all those years, in all those classes I took, I never encountered another classmate who had the same gifts. And so I think
Hmm.
something is changing now, right? We are in a shift. And so more and more medical intuitives are developing. And that's really my work now, is training medical intuitives, because we need to have a lot of medical intuitives.
I love it.
So yeah, I was picking up people's symptoms, for as long as I can remember, but I wasn't doing it in any kind of, systematic way until about maybe 20 years ago. And wow, how old was I? I don't know, 25 years ago. It's hard to remember, but
No, it is.
yeah.
When you live in spirit when you are a spiritual person for a career, you really lose touch. You have no like real good, strong linear, I think, timeline. Like,
Yeah.
for whatever reason, I was always a little out of it every step of the way. So all the files are foggy.
Yeah. When you've got one foot here and one foot in the other world.
Right.
Yeah.
I'll be like, oh, this happened when I was this. Like, no, Chris, you were actually 42 then. I was like, I was, yes. Like, damn, some people really got their stuff down. I can't even, for me, like 2, 3, 4 years could all possibly happen in that span. I have to really go back and research.
Yeah. I remember as a kid having to constantly remind myself that time was real, because it's not, of course. But when you're living in this plane, you have to keep reminding yourself the rules of Earth. There's time, things are linear.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, because as a kid, I remembered my past lives, and also throughout my life, I, at night when I'm doing out of body travel, sometimes I go and visit my other lives, and sometimes I wake up in the morning, and it's like, okay, which life are we in? You really, if you're the kind of person that remembers your past lives, or remembers your travels out of body, you have to put a lot of effort into focusing your energy on the earth plane, because otherwise you end up being one of those people in the street with the signs, who's lost their mind, saying the world is ending. And because I think a lot of those people, they've lost track of what reality they're living in, which life they're in, and then they're crazy.
Oh yeah. I think most of the characters, people, they're like, oh, it's a split personality. They created another personality. I'm like, no, they're channeling some lifetime, I think.
Yeah. It forgot.
I think it's lifetimes. I think of that person walking with the grocery cart, like, no, you aren't. Yes, you are. I think it's like literally different people in their own different lifetimes of themselves arguing with different people in different lifetimes of themselves. They're just like caught in a matrix of weirdness there. Yeah. Very interesting. So in your opinion, as far as healing is concerned, you see into a lot of bodies. What is disease to you? How do you see disease?
I see disease as a manifestation of several different causes, and it varies by person, but there's often a physical cause, an emotional cause, a spiritual cause. Sometimes there's a mental cause. Most illnesses are the result of at least two of those. And I think this is why mainstream medicine has such a hard time helping so many people, why there's so many people who end up coming to medical intuitives, because they're not getting the help they need. And I think it's because illness is not a straightforward thing. It's not just that you have a physical problem like a structural problem or a physiological problem or some type of pathology, and then you get sick. But it's often a combination. It's like you're exposed to something, maybe you're exposed to a pathogen like a virus or bacteria, and at the same time you're dealing with something emotionally that kind of makes you vulnerable and causes your body to react a certain way to that pathogen that someone else who was in the same room didn't have the same reaction to, and so I find it's very unique. I find that when I work with clients, that people's causes for what made them sick it's really unique to each person. But basically, it's usually, I think, a message. It's usually your body is trying to talk to you and tell you something, maybe to tell you that you need something more or something less or something different, that you're doing something that's not really serving your body. You may also be getting a message about your emotional or mental state, that there needs to be some adjustment. And then sometimes if an illness is spiritual in origin, you're getting a message from your higher self, probably your purpose, or something, a contract that you agreed to is manifesting, or a past life is getting triggered, and that's why you're getting sick. It's complicated.
It is complicated. Just from what I've observed too, it's nice to hear you concur, like see the same thing. I see. It seems like, for instance, my mother just fell down the stairs. Literally, it was a bad moment. She's beat up, and her first words was like, "Why?" And I was just like, "I think you manifested a wake up call." And I think a lot of times we will manifest wake up calls, but I know specifically that at least a couple of my injuries were literal past life. I just broke my foot last year, and because I have past life visions. I always had them as a kid, but I thought it was imagination. I thought I was just creative, like really creative, like crazy creative, like, and sort of ego about like, man, my creativity is insane. Like stuff I'm coming up with. And I was just seeing stuff, but like with breaking my foot, it's like, boom, boom. I looked down, I saw where I had been hobbled in a past life. I saw I had remanifested a hobble, and I saw that I had not coped with it that entire life and died feeling ashamed. And that just is a flash that happened, it came after my injury. So I can see for myself what a lot of it is. Do you see any sort of trend though? Like what about autoimmune disease, for instance? I didn't even hear about that in the 70s. When I was growing up, that's like a new, I had asthma and allergies growing up. So that to me, that was always grief I was processing with asthma, for the most part. But what about autoimmune? Is that like a spiritual issue you see?
First, I just wanted to respond to what you said at the beginning, and that I
Sure.
also see past lives as a cause of illness. I see that a lot. Autoimmune. I don't think autoimmune is autoimmune. I think that's a misnomer. I think that's a whole misdiagnosis. It's a whole area that's been created to explain conditions that medicine doesn't understand. And I think it's awfully convenient that this autoimmune disease syndrome predominantly affects women, right? And what is autoimmune about? It's about you attacking your own body. Like you're the cause of your own illness. And historically, women have always been blamed for their illnesses. And so you have to be suspicious. Anytime there's a correlation between any kind of power structure and an explanation for something, you got to be suspicious, and I'm naturally suspicious of things like that. What I found working with individual clients who presented to me with what they thought was a diagnosis of an autoimmune disease, I found that there was often a pathogen. And it was not that their body was attacking them. And I know this is controversial. Some people are probably listening to me saying, this is crazy. How is she going to? That's the thing about this kind of work. When you're getting stuff intuitively, sometimes you're going to get stuff that really goes against, common beliefs.
Yes. Or the narrative.
Or the narrative. So
there are narratives, and like
you have to be, if you're going to be true to what you get, this is going to happen. So what I have seen with autoimmune, like for example, chronic fatigue. overwhelmingly diagnosed in women. And women who are diagnosed with it are treated just really badly, And over time, I've seen an improvement where it's taken more seriously, and more men are being diagnosed. And the more men get diagnosed with a condition, the more it gets taken seriously. So we have a history of that, right? Epilepsy.
That's interesting.
Hysteria, because it predominantly affected women. So for many years, it was just considered a form of hysteria. And there's MS. There's examples like this where it was considered one thing until, kind of there was a shift in the numbers in terms of who was getting it. Wow. But chronic fatigue, it tends to be, now they are finding. So this is I feel like an instance where medicine is kind of catching up to the intuitives, and this is happening all the time, and this is what needs to happen. Is we all need to work together. But chronic fatigue, they're now starting to notice that it's associated with Epstein-Barr is associated with, but they're also noticing that MS is associated with Epstein-Barr, and so here you have two conditions which have very similar presentations. But the people that are diagnosed with MS and the people that were diagnosed with chronic fatigue were treated very differently.
Oh, yeah.
And MS had treatments, and it was considered a real disease. And chronic fatigue was considered a syndrome, right? It's like, we don't know what it is. And so there's a whole class of these autoimmune diseases, many of which are syndromes or are conditions that Western medicine doesn't really know what causes them. And so there's no real, treatment that's effective for it. And what I see when those people come to me is that it's, there's often a pathogen involved, like that one is Epstein-Barr. And there's often an emotional component as well. But there's also a spiritual component. And so I do think there are like diseases which have a spiritual lesson. And like COVID, right, was a disease that came with a really strong message for humanity.
What do you think? What was the spiritual message for COVID, since we're here?
Let me try to remember. I did all these podcasts on it when it was happening. COVID, when I talked to the virus, said that, they came here to give us an opportunity to evolve. And that although it was going to create a lot of death and destruction, that death and destruction was actually going to provide kind of a portal for humanity. And they talked, the coronavirus came across as a very masculine entity. So that's one of the things I do as a medical intuitive. I talk to bodies and I talk to pathogens.
That's interesting.
So he told me, I'm actually here to help humanity, but I don't care what you do. So he was kind of a bad character, but he said, but this is an opportunity. Yes, I'm here for death and destruction, right? I'm here to create some chaos, but this chaos could really help you. And they were saying that, this could be an opportunity for countries to come together and work together. This could be an opportunity for an evolution of healthcare. This could be an opportunity for, the planet to end poverty and health inequities. There was a way in which it was meant to be this launching pad for us in our consciousness.
Yeah, and it was like, I mean, I'm trying to think. Excuse me, I can't think of her name right now. The psychic, like way in the '90s, channeled that it was coming. Like, can't think of her name. All of a sudden, my mom is going to kill me for not remembering her name, but. Like it was channeled that it was coming in many different sources in the 80s. There's different videos and things that show it was in the
Jean Dixon.
No, it wasn't Jean Dixon actually.
Montgomery.
I'm going completely blank. She was doing all like the talk shows, like, what was her name? I don't know. Sylvia Brown. Thank you. Our audience. Brown. Thank you. It was Sylvia Brown. I was going blank. I was looking. We've been switching timelines, I think, and I've been having my mind is not like fully plugged in this new one yet. Like, so I'm seeing images, but words aren't coming with the image. Like, yes, where's the word? So interesting. But, I have noticed, like, for instance, the population suddenly cares more about each other
Mhm.
after COVID.
Yeah.
Like, we now are conscious of whether or not we are spreading germs. We had to be reminded to wash our hands. There's literally,
Basic.
we used to be reminded, like, wash your hands, wash your hands. Like, now it seems like we finally remember, like, we've been so traumatized about washing your hands. Even my iPhone, even my iWatch is like, keep washing, like it's counting how long I'm washing. It's AIs. I'm
Right?
just like, that's a COVID shift,
Yeah.
in what's changed. We're aware of how pure the air is on planes. We're aware of how pure the air is in buildings now. Like, so it's interesting how things do come from dis-ease. Um, do you get a lot of cancer patients? What do you get a lot of? I'm curious. Like, as far
Um,
as who comes to you, when does a person seek out a medical intuitive? Like, when I start coming down with something, do I text you?
but we're
How
not
does it
at
work?
we're
Or
not
do
that
I have to have a disease?
we're not at that point yet, but I think in the future we will be. My vision of the future is that, every clinic will have a medical intuitive, and also different types of healthcare providers like allopaths, chiropractics, acupuncturists, Ayurvedics, right? Different types of licensed physicians, but also a medical intuitive, um, and therapists as well, and energy workers. Like, we'll all be working together. That's my
Mm,
vision for the future of
I
medicine.
love it. I love your
I
vision.
think that medical intuition is the future of medicine, and that we are going to start relying on medical intuition a lot more, because it works, right? So with me, I have a scientific background, and so I've always combined, the rational, the empirical, the logical, and the intuitive. And I think that's why I was attracted to medical intuition, because it allows that. Medical intuition is evidential. It's not just, oh, I think there's an energy around you. It's like, no, there's something wrong with this organ. You can go get a test and you can find out if I'm right or wrong, right? And you can
Right. Yeah. There is a lot
go
of
pursue
tests.
this. And this is what I do with my clients. I would say, you have this problem in this organ. You need to go get this test. And so there's a great opportunity for us to work together, with different practitioners. But right now, or my experience over many years has been that people come to medical intuitives as kind of a last resort. Most people.
Mm-hmm.
They've gone to everybody else. They've tried everything
Right.
else, and they're at their wits' end, and they're like, well, I guess I'll try a medical intuitive.
What can I lose? Yeah.
Right? What else? I've tried everything.
Right.
And so that was, I'd say, the bulk of my clients were people who were very sick, many with chronic illness, who had been sick for many years, and either had not gotten an answer, or had gotten an answer which was not useful or helpful, or had gotten a diagnosis where the treatment was not working or was not helpful. And so I did have some cancer patients. They were a different category. They tended to be people who were already pursuing a mainstream treatment for their cancer, but they also wanted to see a medical intuitive to address the emotional and spiritual components of their illness. So that is a certain slice of people that will go to a medical intuitive, are people who they want more. They don't just want to know physically what's going on. They want to know emotionally, spiritually what's going on. Also, people who go to a medical intuitive want to know the why. Like your mom said, why? Why did I fall down the stairs? You go to a doctor, they're going to tell you the how. This is
Mm-hmm.
how you got sick, right? This is
Mm-hmm.
the mechanism that got you
Mm-hmm.
sick. But they cannot tell you why now, right?
Right.
Because 100 people can be in the same, room and all be exposed to COVID or pneumonia
Right.
or whatever. And only certain people get sick and only certain people die. Why? Why those people? And
Right.
that's what medical intuition can answer, is the why. And so I think some of the people that come to a medical intuitive are coming because they want to know, why am I sick? Like, okay, I get that I'm sick. This is my diagnosis, but why?
Mm-hmm. I have a friend named Gary Lyman. He runs something called the Human Garage, where he does fascial maneuvers to help release energy out of your fascia,
Mm-hmm.
which he says is fascinating business. So, and Gary believes that illness, quite often, he sees in his clients, and he's literally helping people wring the energy out of their body. But he often believes that, like, illness is actually a blessing, that, like, your body is going through a cleanse. Like, your body is going through sort of like when you put the oven on self clean, it's sort of like some sort of it's processing out stuff. Do you believe we have we have to process stuff out of our bodies?
I do believe that, well, yes, both. Most of us do need to process things out of our body, physically and emotionally. And I also believe that illness is usually a message, or it's usually something that is going to help us. It's either going to help us have a pivot point in our life where we're going to shift our focus. It's going to help get us back on track. It's going to remind us of certain things. It's going to maybe have a dramatic impact on our relationships that needs to happen. Sometimes people manifest really serious illnesses in order to teach, sometimes to learn. So a lot of people assume that a person who is sick because they need to learn something. But what I find is oftentimes people who are sick develop that illness because it creates then a captive audience of students for them. Their caretakers become their students. And so I have seen a lot of highly evolved spiritual beings who incarnate, and they incarnate with severely disabled bodies that require a lot of care, because it gives them this built-in student population.
Huh.
And if you actually talk to a lot of caretakers who work with the severely disabled, I think you'll get confirmation for this, that they will say how much they learned from their patients. Or you can talk to mothers who have like children with Down syndrome or certain conditions like that that require really constant care. They will tell you how much they learned from that child.
That's true.
Right?
They do say that. That's a common. That is common.
Teachers. And so sometimes people will manifest a particularly, challenging disease in order to say, bring the whole family together.
Yeah.
Or to break up a family that needs to be broken up,
Mm-hmm.
or to help kind of shift energy. And so, yeah, sometimes there's something that needs to be released or changed in your life, and that's why you get sick. If you're talking about fascia, you're probably talking about, do you have to have toxins released from your body, or maybe you're talking about traumas being released, right?
Yes,
So
both.
Yeah, and so yes, people get trauma. Trauma is one of the emotional causes of illness. And so I do see that with chronic illness, especially immune, what did you call it?
Immune disorders.
Autoimmune.
Autoimmune, yeah.
Trauma,
Yeah.
I think, is one of the causes,
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, trauma and also pathogens. There's can be a lot of causes, but those are two of the big ones I see are pathogens and trauma.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, sometimes your body becomes very ill because, it has stored too much trauma. It has stored too much pollution. Some of us are very sick because of all the pollution. And so this is another reason for, quote unquote, autoimmune disease. What I call chronic illness is pollution in our body. So we have a lot of, we have a lot of imbalances. Our body really it's not really designed to process that much pollution, right? That much toxicity. And that, and that's true for emotional toxicity and also physical toxicity.
I'm amazed we're actually doing so well with how much pollution there is.
Right?
In water and plastics and poisons and medicines and, steroids in the water and fluoride and chlorine and
I know.
And then there's the pesticides on the food, and there's the stuff in the food, and there's it's like, and we're looking pretty, we're still doing pretty good. Like, it's not easy to kill a human being.
It's not, but it is easy to make them really sick and dysfunctional.
Right.
And that's what
they had to completely surround us. I mean,
very dysfunctional.
I think they, whatever that is, have been, let's just say, careless for at least 50 years now. Severely careless with our health. And we're doing pretty well, actually, considering. I think it's completely wrong. It needs to be changed. But I'm just saying it takes a lot to bring the human race down. That body is designed to win. It is designed to heal. It seems like it is designed to improvise.
Oh, yeah, because we can heal anything if we're totally tuned in to ourselves.
It seems as though that's true. Yes.
If we're totally channeling in our higher self on a regular basis, we're able to heal. It's just so hard for us to learn that and to maintain that practice of constantly tuning in and bringing in divine source energy into our body. And so instead, we're just kind of tuned in to our environment, and we're not getting properly nourished. We're not getting the physical nourishment and the emotional nourishment. We don't have the community that we need for our emotional nourishment. And so, but we're incredibly resistant and, adaptable, and we are self-healing beings as well. But I do think that the illness is a message, and I do think it's a blessing. It's a gift. I call it a gift. When you get sick, most people, if they're honest, who've had a serious condition, will say, I became a better person because of that.
Yeah, we should actually. You're making me think. We ought to applaud sick. Like, I got sick. Oh, good. Yay. That's great.
Big, good.
That's terrific.
What a great soul. You decided to take this on.
Totally. Yeah.
You could become a better person, or you could help other people around you become better people.
Sometimes, interesting. A pattern I see a lot is like when clients have in their chart that they're going to have to learn their psychic gifts and connect to the other side. And it looks like they've just had past lives where they have been all just in the material, focused on the moment. They haven't really bridged heaven and earth. Quite often they will have like a close relative, like a twin brother or a sister, or a partner that they meet when they're young or whatever, that will die young of a disease that then they spend the rest of their life communicating with telepathically. And every time I tune into that reading psychically, and they're distraught, I'm just like, this was the plan. This was always the plan. The plan was you're gonna fall in love with them. You're gonna have a heartstring. They're gonna leave, and they're gonna like the old game with telephone of tin cans and string. This is your operator in heaven, and that's why this happened. It's not tragic at all. It was the plan. So I see stuff like that a lot in clients' charts, that illness or death sometimes is totally completely strategized by spirit.
Oh,
it's going to happen.
I mean, that's part of the work that I do. I was working as a medical intuitive for most of the time, and then that evolved into people wanting me to spend more time helping them with the spiritual aspects. And that got me into doing life purpose readings. And this is where I go to the Akashic records and I sit in on the person's pre-life conference with their incarnation guides, where they plan things. And sure enough, most of the major events in your life, they were planned by you and your guides for very specific purposes that were all beneficial, and that includes major illness. It includes, tragedy, and includes, losing the death of a spouse or a sibling, the being the victim of something major like a war or, a crime. It's usually planned, and it's planned because it provides an opportunity for something that soul came to do. Yeah,
totally. And it feels like we're going to be going into, what is your sense of the future? I love your vision of that. There's empaths in clinics. And I mean, that just warms my heart. The idea that, that we would have an empath that's sort of feeling out what the cause is and what the spiritual reason is. Do you have, just as another empath, a feel for where the earth is about to go next? It feels like Mother Earth and culture and society is sick. Culture is sick. Culture has dis-ease in it. The earth is heating up. She has a fever, there are viruses that are hurting other people, so do you get a medical intuitive sense of the health of Gaia right now, her population and her?
Gaia is fine, because Gaia doesn't need us, and, we could all die tomorrow and Gaia will just bounce back.
Yeah.
We are a terrible parasite right now.
Mm-hmm.
That's causing a lot of damage to the planet.
Yeah.
But I'm not worried about Gaia. It's us.
I'm not either. I'm not worried about the climate stuff.
Gaia's worried about us, or her children, who are just so dysfunctional. But my, I am an environmentalist, and I am very concerned about climate change. So I don't want to pretend that I don't want it to sound like I don't. That's very important to me. But Gaia is so much more powerful than us that we cannot defeat her. We cannot. It's impossible for us. We will die first.
I believe that's true.
So it's not. We are killing a lot of animals, and
I'm worried about that the most.
We're killing a lot of people, and we're killing a lot of animals. But Gaia will be fine. But but we're not fine. But you know what I keep being told for so many years now by my guides is that, you know, we're in a shift in consciousness. You know, the earth is evolving. We are shifting into a much better age. And, you know, my friends and family keep saying, I don't know, I don't see the evidence. I don't see, I don't know. Why do we keep having these bad things happen, like COVID and climate change and all these wars? And now we have genocide in so many parts of the world happening right now. And you know, it's like, we're in this, you know, we're in this situation now where things look like they're getting worse by a lot of different metrics, right?
Yeah.
And yet I keep being told that things are evolving into something better.
Me too.
I was told last year that there was going to be an intensification of war and patriarchal violence against women. And that even though that's happening, they wanted me to keep the faith that we are evolving.
Yeah.
It's hard to see sometimes because, you know, like right now with the assault on women's rights, women being reduced to second-class citizens in the United States, with all the wars, it's hard to see it with the destruction of the environment, and the loss of all the animals. But sometimes what has to happen is we have to go through, you know, like the dark night of the soul, we have to go through things have to get much worse before they get better. And that seems to be the message that I'm getting, is that we're going through something that looks bad, but it's actually going to be kind of like COVID was. It's like kind of like every illness is, right? It shifts us, right? We go through something, it's very painful, it's very hard to tolerate at the time, but when we get to the other side of it, we're better people. And that's what's happening with us as humanity, you know, as a people, as a planet, is that we are going through some very difficult times right now, but we are evolving into something better.
I feel that that's the plan. I always joke. I mean, there's no way I would incarnate into a super painful, horrible lifetime that ends poorly and everyone dies. Like I don't do unhappy endings. I'm not interested in that. So as far as, you know, I personally believe the earth is evolving to a higher state. And I do believe in, I'm believing in multiple timeline theories right now, that there's multiple existing timelines and that we opt in and out of timelines. And the timeline I'm on is like a fun rainbow into paradise. Like I've decided, but I do see that there is a part of human evolution where shadow, dark, disease, all of these are all propellants and vehicles of getting to know yourself, you know, and solving a puzzle in some regards. It feels like it. It's interesting. Yeah. I feel like we're going to get better and better. I feel honestly that I feel like the earth can't be taken down, like you said. And I feel like even climate might go wonky here for a minute because of industrialization. But I fully believe the earth is designed to snap back and she will evolve into the next thing. She knew this would happen.
Right. And, you know, we needed to have all these things happening. We needed things to get to a dire, you know, we're hard-headed as humans, you know, and it's like we need things to get catastrophic before we're willing to start using green energy, you know, like,
yeah,
for some reason, you know, this information's been available for so long, but it's like we have to come to the brink of extinction before everybody can get on board with this idea that maybe we should start treating the earth with more respect. Maybe we should start treating the animals better. Maybe we should stop polluting. Maybe we should stop, you know, digging all of the blood out of Mother Earth and using it. We don't need to be digging all this oil out of the earth. You know, there's so many other things we could be doing for energy besides, you know, mining the earth and causing all of these problems with waterways and animals. But it's like, you know, things have to get to this kind of crisis point before people are willing to change, unfortunately.
It's where we are. We're that young. We're that naive. I mean, we're, you know, real sloppy. We have to be nearly going off the road to realize we're nearly going off the road.
Right.
You know, like that's just where we are. And this particular kind of moment, I think. But you were saying, we're still seeing violence with women and all these other types of things. What I see is that, like for instance, obesity. Obesity is such a big issue. There's lots of causes. But, in the old days, only Louis the 16th could be obese. You didn't even have the opportunity to be obese. So the population has to work through obesity. Everyone has to be Louis the 16th. Everyone has to has to have maybe been in a war and realized, death and violence is bad. Like, I think no one gets out of that. I don't think
Yeah, it's
anyone gets
old.
out of all those different pains and experiences. So
Yeah.
when you're looking at society for is it growing or not, I'm looking at like the bell curve of society. People are like, oh, look at the degradation of society. All these selfies. Everyone's got all these selfies. I'm like, this is the first lifetime you could even admire yourself and respect yourself. This is the first lifetime where it's okay to be okay with being pretty. Or we've been we've been working in caves and digging diamonds up, and barely staying alive. So it's like, to me, some of these things, it's like, boy, does society ever change? I'm seeing every soul on earth working through all these shadow things. No one gets out of it. And so to some degree, what I see happening now is really the end of the line, is the way
Yeah.
I see it. Like
It's,
this,
it's the end of an era.
right. I agree. And these
One of
people
the
who are
things,
committing crimes or doing whatever, they just hadn't gotten that lesson in yet.
part of why there are so many bad actors right now is because it's, what the last gaspers of a dying empire. So whenever
Yes.
empire is dying, you have these extremists, right? And that's what's happening with women. I've been told very clearly by my guides that the future is female. That's a slogan, but it really is the truth. And you see that with this kind of last gasping of patriarchy, with all these draconian laws and different things happening around the world with regard to women. It's not going to last, because that's not the future. The future is going to be a lot more harmony between genders, between races, between
I agree.
countries. But you have the last gaspers, you always do.
Well, I think you also have a bunch of a-holes who are exploiting, keeping us there. Like, we've had free energy probably since 1940, and we're keeping fossil fuels are in charge, not because human beings don't want to mine her oil and burn it. Human beings will take whatever works. The systems, the control has been, from a few. That's the problem. But that's part of our ignorance as humans. You didn't wake up and command for it to be different. So until someone stands up and says, hey, then they get away with it. And I think that's part of our immaturity. Like, we haven't stood up and said, hey, what the F, what are you doing? But I think we've also been so wounded and so distracted with our wounds. I mean, just looking in history, I think humanity for the first time is healing karmic wounds. I look through any time in history, I don't know if they were healing karmic wounds or not during those times. Maybe to some degree, if you had a nice quiet life in the country or something. But for the most part, we're really waking up and facing our traumas and talking about it.
Yeah, we are. And we're all responsible. That's the thing. We're all responsible. We can't. That's one of the lessons, that's become so clear to me working with clients and visiting all of their pre-life, the pre-life meetings where people are making decisions and understanding the reason for things that happen in people's lives, not just their illness, but their relationship issues and their other issues, is that, none of us are, let me see, how can I put this? Many of us find ourselves in a position of being victims of other people, right? Who are bad actors, right? Nefarious. And yet none of us has to be a victim for the entire time, right? We sign up for different experiences. And sometimes the experience we sign up for is a very challenging one where you have to go through victimization.
Yeah.
But there'll be another lifetime where you don't have to have that, right? Or maybe by the end of the lifetime where you've been victimized as a child, there'll be a victory for you, and that's what I see is that nobody has to be victimized forever. Even though we see these trends, right, where certain groups are victimized for centuries. Like, are those people always going to be victimized? No, because there's a spiritual purpose in that too. There are souls that choose to incarnate into communities which are oppressed. And
Yep.
they do that because they've come to teach humanity something.
Yeah.
And so there's spiritual work being done even in those contexts where people are being, one group's being oppressed by another. There's spiritual work happening. And also in individual relationships where one person is victimizing another, there's spiritual work happening. And usually the soul that signs up for the more difficult task, which is being the victim, is the one who was coming here to do more, right?
Mm-hmm.
Signed up for more. They didn't come for an easy life. They say, "Oh, I'm going to sign up for a hard life because there's more I want to do. There's more I want to contribute. There's more I want to learn. There's more I want to teach." And you know, when people get clearer about that, I think it makes it easier to handle what we do have to go through.
Mm-hmm.
And also, I don't know, I'm with illness. When you mentioned obesity, I kind of want to segue back to obesity because you mentioned it, and it's an example of something I've learned from doing medical intuition. In doing medical intuition, I have learned that there are certain conditions that we are just so misguided about what causes them. And obesity is one of them.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So it used to be, I think it used to be, I don't really know for sure, but you talked about King Louis, that there was a time period where in order to get fat, you had to eat a lot and sit on your bum, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's how you got fat. And people nowadays, some people still believe that that's why some people are obese, is that they eat too much and they sit on their backsides and they don't do anything. And that's just not the case anymore. You know, what I have found is that obesity is caused by so many things.
Yep.
Pollution, right, is a big part of
Yep.
it. Toxicity.
The body is swollen. The body is inflamed.
We're talking about how we're such great survivors. Well, we can see how much we're living in a toxic world by how the pandemic of obesity.
Yeah.
Because it's the gut, you know, and a lot of people, it's the toxicities in their blood and their gut that's causing them to be obese. It's also dysregulated hormones in women because women's bodies have not been studied in medical research. Medicine has not been designed for women's bodies. It's been designed for men's bodies.
Mm-hmm.
And as a result, a lot of the medicine that's out there doesn't work well with women's hormones. And the side effect is like almost always obesity. And it's really interesting that I'm curious about a lot of it, but obesity is the side effect of so many problems that we have currently in our health and in our environment. Obesity is the symptom. It's like, you know, and I feel like it's like such a big, oh my God, you're sick, your society is sick. Instead of saying, oh, that person's lazy and they eat too much, we should be saying, oh my God, our society is so sick that, you know, we have so many things that are out of balance in our environment that the majority of our population is now obese, you know, and we can't actually say they're all sitting around overeating and sitting on their bums. That's just not the case. There's a percentage of people who, you know, where you can see a correlation between their calorie consumption and their exercise, but it's a small percentage. It's a small percentage.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
And to me, it's just such a big example of what we can learn from modalities like medical intuition, where, you know, you're not just listening to kind of the answers that people have always given, or kind of these assumptions or stereotypes, or even, you know, sexism, like women, you know, when they go to the doctor and they say, oh, I have a problem with gaining weight, the doctor will treat them like, oh, they're vain. You know, that's not important. It's not important that you're gaining weight. You know, it's not on our list of that we can treat. So there's all of these reasons why our current healthcare system cannot address obesity, and has failed to address obesity. But there's so many, it could so easily be addressed. It could so easily be addressed, I think, if we were willing to consider all of the possible contributing causes, right? And that's true, I think, for most illness, is that we need to start being more open-minded and have more open inquiry and be more critical when we think about how do we solve these epidemics of chronic illness, right? Why is it that so many people have disease X and we don't have a treatment for it? Like,
Yep.
there needs, obviously, the model that we have, whatever it is that seeks to explain it, is insufficient.
Right.
A different model. And I think that's where medical intuitives come in, is that we can provide insight because we're not kind of hemmed in the same way as certain licensed healthcare practitioners are, where they've been trained to think of things in one way, and there's legal reasons why they have to follow that, right? They don't have the option of just working with a patient and coming up with a different theory because there'll be consequences, right? Because there are boards and there's licensing, and there should be. I believe in boards and licensing, and I think medical intuitives should be licensed, and there should be boards accrediting and overseeing medical intuitives.
You think so, huh? Isn't that the opportunity, though, for corruption? I mean, I think the medical board and licensing is the reason why people died in COVID, and they didn't have to. Ivermectin, all sorts of different things.
Well,
I probably just demonetized my channel by saying that word.
No, don't say anything like that.
No, my higher self makes a joke like that. I do say to heaven, like, we're just kidding. Don't do anything. I don't
think that because we've done something wrong in the past that we're always going to do it wrong. So I don't think that, I think the idea of licensing is a good one. The idea of keeping people accountable, of keeping people safe from charlatan practitioners is a good one. And I agree with you that there's also been an abuse of those power structures. But I don't think that the abuse of those power structures is inherent in the creation of those structures. I can imagine, anyway, a future where a licensing board for medical intuition is not just based on science or on a group of elites, right? But that it's based on intuition, for example. Medical intuition also is a field that's, largely dominated by women healers. And so they're going to bring something different to a licensing board than current licensing boards. But if they're coming into this licensing and saying, we're trying to keep the patient safe, right? That's the purpose of a licensing board. We're trying to keep people safe because there are fakers out there. There's charlatans. That's why I wrote my book, right? On ethical, my ethical.
Good segue. Good segue. Yeah. What is your book is called Author of the Ethical Psychic. You are the ethical psychic.
Yeah.
And that's interesting that you considered the ethics for psychics. I do believe there should be ethics for psychics and whatnot. I personally do not trust any governmental authority at this stage of our evolution to regulate me as an astrologer or a reader.
Well, it has to be astrologers regulating astrologers, medical intuitives regulating medical intuitives, right?
Yeah, it ought to be, for sure.
Yeah, it can't be other.
And I ought to be able to practice whether I'm licensed or not. Like the end, to me, it's on the customer to decide they want a licensed one or not a licensed one. Just because I've found that, I think that medical boards started off really good, but there's a lot of stories about Rockefeller interfering. Like a lot of big billionaires interfered and corrupted that shift all towards petroleum. It all that regulation turned into control. And what happened during COVID was doctors could not practice their field because they were being so regulated by even the hospitals that they were losing their licenses or their ability to practice if they didn't fall in line. So that's my concern. I just want to counterbalance.
Yeah,
I support your regulation, but how do we prevent that from happening?
Well, that's why, that's one of the things I talk about in my book is that, for me, being an ethical healer, being an ethical psychic is about, being very vigilant and being very conscious about trying to make sure that you don't harm anybody. And it requires a lot of introspection and reflection and critical thought. It's not something that we just accidentally are good, because usually we're accidentally bad, right? We make mistakes. We hurt people without intending to. And so, what I argue is that in order to be an ethical healer, you have to really devote some reflection to, okay, what are all the possible consequences of my actions? How could what I'm doing hurt people? How can I make sure that doesn't happen? How can I set up my practice? You know, and you have to always be, it's something, it's an ongoing question. You're always asking yourself. And so when I think about, you know, licensing, I think of it in those terms. I think of it as a group of people coming together who are medical intuitives and saying, you know, what can we set up to kind of make sure that people don't get harmed by medical intuitives? And what, you know, what kind of harms have we seen? What kind of harms can we try to prevent? And how can we, but then also at the same time, how can we prevent ourselves from becoming a, you know, dictatorial board, right? How do we stop from becoming egotistical and getting really high on the power? Because that's something I also talk about in my book is the guru effect, right? So there are people who they're really gifted intuitives, gifted healers, gifted spiritual teachers. And then it goes to their head, right? They get kind of high on the power and then they start abusing it. So then you have these, you know, these what I call fake gurus and fake shamans who use their gifts to manipulate and control other people in order to get, you know, sex or money or status or power. And so I think when you go into any type of structure, licensing structure, you have to be going into it already thinking about that, thinking about, okay, we can't see ourselves as some judges. We can't see ourselves as the authorities. There has to be a different model. It has to be more of a model of how can we come together as a community of medical intuitives and keep each other honest and help each other to help more people and to hurt fewer people. That's my understanding of it. And the current, and I hear what you're saying because our current structures don't look like that, right? They're
not at all. I mean, I haven't seen any of those. Hippocratic oath, my ass. You know.
and yeah, people do think that they're better than other people, that they're judges, they're experts, they're authorities.
I know. Yeah.
And they want to punish people and reward other people.
Or they close down to new ideas, which I think is also toxic and eventually kills you off. It's like you've got to let the kids coming in with the new ideas.
You do.
You know, those kids need to be embraced. They need to know it can't happen overnight, but the old have to realize that it has to happen. You know, like, so there's a lot of wisdom waiting to unfold here. I'm
really excited about Generation Z. I'm very
excited
about them.
The final straw.
You know what I've been shown is that they are going to radically restructure society. But the way that that's happening is right now it looks to us like they're deficient, right? We kind of have this way of looking at Gen Z because that's how they fitting into our society right now. They're coming up deficient, right? Like they don't know how to do a lot of things that we did, right? They don't know how to take care of themselves. They don't know how to make a living. They don't know they can't handle emotional intensity. You know, there's a lot of mental illness in this generation. But what I've been told by my guides is that there's a structural explanation for this in their brains, and it has to do with the evolution of humanity.
Mm-hmm.
It's looking deficient right now because these kids are super sensitive. They can't handle certain things that their amygdalas cannot handle things. But that it's a part of the evolution of the brain. And that evolution of the brain is a part of the evolution of our society. And of course, I look at things this way. So of course, this is the way my guides are going to give me information is in terms of like the physical body and how that's related to society. Because all of these things that are going on in our bodies are purposeful, you know? Yeah. And we have pandemics of them where large swaths of the community or large populations are all impacted by one physical condition. And the case right now is Generation Z with mental health. Mm-hmm. There's a purpose for that. It's not just a tragedy. It's not just something is wrong with us. Something is wrong with these kids. No, there's something happening. There's an evolution that's happening. We can't see it yet. Right. First of all, because we're dinosaurs. I'm speaking for myself. You know, I'm 59, 58. I don't even know how old I am. Right. We're dinosaurs. I'm a Gen Xer.
Yeah, you are.
Right? So, you know, we're going to see things through our lens, but they are part of the shift, right? They are shifting our societal structures. Yeah. Millennials too. They really are, you know, cause an evolution in our conceptions of work, right? Work is changing because of millennials.
Yeah, it's true.
And Gen Z is going to be changing the way that we structure our communities and our food and how we interact with energy, war. There's a lot of things that they're changing. So I'm really excited. I'm excited about, what's, at the same time, it's painful. It's painful to watch some of the, the kids in my family, what they're going through. My friends' kids, it's painful what this generation is going through. But I do believe, and I'm if you haven't noticed by now, I'm an extreme optimist.
I like that about you.
I'm an optimist in part because I've been very blessed to have guidance. And so when things get bad and I start feeling bad, I always am able to get guidance from my spirit teachers to say, don't worry.
Yeah.
It's going to get better.
Yeah. I know that's the blueprint up in heaven. And that's what keeps me going too. I mean, as of late, as we've come to this, we'll see. I'm finally just this year going, all right, this is what I know is going to happen. So let's quit saying we'll see. Let's just start making it happen. I think that's part of the questioning was the questioning, not the question. You know what I mean? Like, not what we were questioning, but the fact that we were questioning. You know what I mean? Like, versus just doing.
Questioning is important.
Yeah, terrific. So you have so much to offer. And you and I could talk forever. I think you have to come back and talk again. We can chat about all sorts of stuff. Like, I think our two backgrounds, I'm a Gen Xer too. And I actually think Gen X is about to take their power in the world. Mm-hmm. And I think the irony of us being the X generation is that there's a mystery there. People didn't realize, I think we're holding a lot of the solutions that the world needs for this transition. And yeah, I think my son, the Gen Zs, like, according to the brochure, robots are going to pick their food and do all the hard work. So they don't know what the fuck. Like, they were like, wait a second. The brochure said I wasn't going to have to work or do anything. And here I am incarnated. What's this about? So
that's one thing I was told too, is that the future, the evolution that we're in is going to happen because of all the generations working together. And so we can't really rely on like Gen Z, because they're dealing with a lot of mental health stuff. We can't entirely rely on Gen X because we have other issues, right? Millennials have their issues. We all have strengths and weaknesses.
Everyone has issues they're facing, for sure.
We got to work together to make these changes.
I hear you, and we will. And actually, you've got to come speak at Unite the Light next year, because that's the whole premise, was bringing light workers together to start talking about ethics and guidelines and can we agree or agree to disagree and things like that. So we seem to be cut from the same alien source, my lady.
Yes.
I love it. How can people get to find you? You actually have a podcast, Journal of a Medical Intuitive. That sounds compelling. I haven't had a chance to check that out yet. You're the author of The Ethical Psychic. But you're giving us a coupon code, Sirius50, to get a $50 discount on a medical intuition course. So you teach people how to be medical intuitives. I love that. You're trailblazing.
I do, so I actually am right now on a sabbatical from seeing clients. I have a 400-person waiting list, and I don't know when I'm going to get to them, and it's closed. And I've totally pivoted by my guides to teaching and writing books. And so my mission right now is to train as many medical intuitives. And so I have a course on this coupon is for a course on my website. And then I also teach courses for the Shift Network on medical intuition and other topics.
Yes. I'd love to hear more about the Shift Network at some point too.
And then I'm working on other books. So I have my second book is coming out next month. And I'm currently working on a third book. And so my project right now is to, help as many people as possible to learn how to help other people, either as medical intuitives or akashic records reader, life purpose coaches, that kind of thing. Because it's time, it's time for all of us to get into position. And some of us came here to help other light workers get on their path and get clarity and remember who they really are. And that's my purpose. And so right now I'm manifesting it through teaching and writing.
That's wonderful. Mm-hmm. As I believe you should. We'll talk about that backstage. I'll share with you what I see in your chart. I think that's wonderful. I actually think, I feel like, we can go down another rabbit hole here, but I feel like this is the dawn of the age of Aquarius, the dawn. I feel like we are the foremothers and forefathers of the new era, Gen X, and the people who are practicing spirituality right now. I feel like the work you're doing right now is the foundation of the whole future. So I have no doubts that you are, uh, perhaps a new Hippocrates, perhaps the next Hippocrates in a different way. It's possible. It is with what you're creating.
I hope
You're,
so. I hope that
yeah.
I'm having a really, I hope that I'm having a positive impact on a lot of people. That's what I came to do.
Yeah. Well, I think it's now time to teach the next generation of light workers. I agree with you. I too have a long wait list. I too can't take any more, so I think one to many is the new relationship so that
Right.
it spreads as fast as possible. Right.
Right.
The
And
one to one is
we need
very,
more
very
medical intuitives. I don't need to be seeing all these clients. We need to have medical intuitives in every street corner.
totally. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. We totally do. It should be
Yeah.
something that we just do. We learn from we should be learning about that in kindergarten. So, we have put your website up. It is her YouTube channel is at Jennifer Lisa Vest, and your website is drvestmedicalintuitive.com, which we put up a link here. Her Instagram is // spirit teacher.
Spirit
forward
teacher.
splash forward slash spirit teacher. So yeah, I'm really hoping people start to follow you. We're getting lots of clicks on the barcode. So come back and talk to us again. It'd be great to shoot the shift.
Yes, I would love to. It's been great.
Thank you. And stay backstage if you don't mind for a second. So we'll say goodbye to you after the show wraps up. I'm just going to wrap up the show and I'll see you backstage.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Christopher.
Thank you, doctor. It's been a pleasure. See you soon.
And so-
All right. That was excellent. Wasn't she great? Wow. We have the best people. Oh my goddess. And we're creating such a wonderful family of light here at Serious Joy, and Serious Joy TV is here to bring it to you. Let's wrap up this show, shall we? Let's see here. I have to find the right. Here we go. I knew it was here somewhere. Few things I want to tell you about before I wrap up, and I do thank you for watching. If you're still watching at this time, you are a godsend and a true supporter. We appreciate you. Unite the Light 2024, Let's Co-Create is now available for immediate download and streaming and access to our private social network for light workers who purchase a ticket and who want to network and collaborate. Very much like just what the doctor was saying. For $99, you'll have lifetime access, and you'll have access also to the social network. We are, grateful that more people are jumping on, and you can see everyone. In fact, you know what? I just realized I need someone to actually time code it so you can just jump right to the video where each person is speaking. But your heart's gonna be lit up. My keynote, I think, was great. I don't know. I'd love to know what you think. That's at unitethelight.love, and tell me. Reach out to me on my profile in there and say hi. We can actually connect. It'll be fun. Also, LOL, Leading Out Loud. Oh my goddess, this show is great. If you haven't seen our last show, it is live here on my own personal network. Whoops, we're just popping around here looking for Leading Out Loud. There we are. We all met in person at Unite the Light. It was really great. That show is on every Monday. We're going to run a special interview with Dana Claudette this next Monday, as we'll be taking this Memorial Day weekend off from the show. But it's every Monday at 9 Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific with psychic, medium Scott Cruz, tarot master Chris Reck, Devin Dewar, angel reader, and yours truly. We're really finding our groove on this show, and it was great meeting in person. Check it out. And you can also follow our Leading Out Loud show page on YouTube. My May Manifestation Abundance webinar is available for immediate purchase and download, which is at my senseichristopher.com. senseichristopher.com. The barcode is below. So if you haven't gotten it yet, you can watch it immediately. It is let me just tell you about this. I know June is approaching. I'll have another one in June. However, there's a big checklist of what you want to have accomplished this month. And this webinar goes all over. And then the end of the webinar is people asking questions and getting answers. But of course, probably my pride and joy, of course, is seriousjoy.com. Our team is so amazing. We were all at Unite the Light. We are launching a new mothership in the next 30 days. Yep, a complete new version of our service. So we're hoping to have you come on down and give it a try. We do have live shows. We didn't have a live show this week, but upcoming this week on Wednesday, May 29th, the Golden Mega Monthly Address and interview will be live. So I'll be live talking about the month of June, what we can expect in June. And I'll also have at the end one subscriber who is trying to manifest a golden egg project, some sort of magic manifestation. So these are also available at seriousjoy.cloud if you want to take a look also. So you can always a la carte at .cloud or subscribe if you're serious about your joy at seriousjoy.com. So sharing is caring, as I like to say. All right, here, what is my stupid computer doing? The best thing you can do for us is to share Namaste Today Live. Remember, the horoscopes do come out on Tuesdays, so you can watch your horoscope again on Tuesday. And if you want to share someone's horoscope with them, what I just gave them for this week, and that's the best way to introduce me to your friends and family. That's the best thing you can do for me. I appreciate it. I love hearing the stories of how people heard about me. It's usually someone who cared about them told them. Our Facebook club is at seriousjoy.club, by the way, if you want to be part of our club. We do allow you to advertise your spiritual services, and that's where I post all my personal pictures are in the club, by the way. If you want to follow us, our social link tree is at seriousjoy.social. Come on down and follow us anywhere. And if you'd rather listen instead of watch, you can find us on Spotify, Stitcher, or Apple Podcasts. Special thanks to our producer, Noelle Way, who I just met in person, our casting director, Mara Moon, our director, Sarah Lyman, my teaching staff, Robbie Hunt, Kristen Ryder, Devin Dewar, Joe Zamek, Gwen English, Heather Exposito, and Daiki Okamoto. And special thanks to our super friends in the chat. It was so good meeting my soul brother, Daryl Blankenship. I also met Christine Kelly. Sydney was there. Nitu was there. Iggy didn't make it this time. Shout out to Kat Ryder, Michelle Camper, Michelle Bell. I know we have to have a meeting still, Michelle. Erica, Experimental Elemental, Laura Ship, Nikki Anderson, Liebman Lauren, Margot Milia, met you in person. Jill Louise, always a shout out. Princess Coffee Bean, we'll see you next year. And of course, Sydney, who's been in the chat several times already tonight. All right, friends. Super excited. Oops, my goodness. One last reminder, I will be in Malibu for the Human Garage event tomorrow in Malibu tomorrow morning. I got to actually pack and catch a plane early tomorrow. So if you're in the Southern California area and you want to meet, this is a great way. Come on down, humangarage.net, and just click on their LA event, and I'll see you there. I hope to see you there. I'm going to be traveling a lot this year, so there's a lot of opportunities to meet and hug your sensei. All right, friends. That's all we have for this week. I will see you in 1 week with more. Until then, I sincerely love you so much. Live, love, be.
It's serious.